All right, say it again.
Watch the last one at the box.
Y'all subscribe to the Last Ones at the Bar boxing channel, man. We got some boxing fans out there.
Hola, soy Jolie de Medellín y estás viendo las 4:11 de Bar, el mejor canal de boxeo. Dale me gusta y suscríbete. Y me puedes encontrar en Instagram como Jolie1026 Sánchez. Bye.
Last Ones at the Bar. Exclusively talks about the sport of boxing.
Yes, indeed. Welcome to Last Ones at the Bar, baddest boxing podcast out. And I'm joined with my boy, who, if we 1A, he's 1B, or he's 1A and we 1B, and that's Ty Finney of In This Corner. Ty, what's going on, man?
Salute, man. Glad to be on here. Talk this boxing, last show of the year. Happy New Year's to everybody.
Yes, sir, man. We got the boxing extravaganza today. We're going to talk about all of the goodies. We're going to talk about the pound for pound list. We're going to talk about whose stock rose the most in 2025. Also, if we do the yin and the yang, if what goes up must come down. So we got to talk about the guys who stock, dropped a tad bit this year as well, and a few other goodies for you. Before we get started, man, how's everything been going this holiday season, man? How's your Christmas, and how's everything going into the new year?
Everything's going good, man. I had a great Christmas, last weekend, just ran around with the lady, dropped presents off to the fam, things like that. So, but yeah, man, good Christmas, I was off for a couple of days, so I enjoyed my time off, man, ready to get this new year started.
That's what's up, man. I'm glad. You got any resolutions or anything like that? Or you haven't thought about it just yet?
I definitely want to get more involved with my health and, speak more on health, because, I've lost a lot of family members, cancer and things like that. So I want to take my health to another level for next year.
That's what's up. Since I've been off, some things I've been doing, as far as doing better when it comes to my health. Really, what I try to do when we have a long, lengthy break, as we do right now, because I don't have to go back to work until the 5th. And I've been off basically since the 18th. And so one thing that I've done is shying away from like caffeine, energy drinks. Now, as far as the energy drink, I've been trying to get myself, back into working out, because I took about, if the 18th was the last day, then that Monday was the last day that I worked out. And then I picked it back up starting this Tuesday. So it's been 2 days, since I've been back working out. But the problem is, without the energy drinks, it makes it more difficult. You know what I mean? To get the workouts that I'm looking for, but I'm trying my best to stay away, from those things, because it could, they can have a debilitating effect on your body. So I'm trying to do something similar, but it's just taking a little bit of time for my body to kind of recalibrate. But whatever it is your resolutions are, man, hopefully everything comes into fruition and you have an excellent 2026. I'm gonna start off before we get off into what it is that we're gonna do. We have some serious news, man. I think the biggest news of the week was Anthony Joshua surviving a crash that took place in Nigeria. Did you get a chance to see footage of that, or what they made available?
Yeah, I saw it, man. Like, it was bad. Like, I seen AJ, getting removed from the vehicle. It looked like he was in a lot of pain. So, I mean, it's real tragic, that this happened, especially after the big fight that he had with Jake Paul. So, prayers, condolences out, to the family, that lost, the loved ones. So, losing two guys, your friends, your trainers at the same time like that, I think that's going to, like, take a toll on his mental. So, like, if he wants to, set, 2026 out, and, I'm cool with that 100%. You know, it's all up to AJ. You know, he might need some counseling to get through this. I don't know, but yeah, prayers out to to everyone involved, man.
Yes, sir. And his buddies that he lost too. He made a statement, man, and I was gonna play it, but like I say, sometimes when I play video, that it makes my side of things lag a little bit. But one thing that he said, if you get a chance, um, he made a post. I want to say it was either on Instagram or Twitter. Somebody was asking him a question, and he was talking kind of about just life in general. And he was saying how things, material things aren't that important. They're bigger things in life. I don't want to mess his words up, but it was what he was saying was so real, you know, and it coincided with the events that took place the other day when he was in that awful car crash. I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but for me, what are the odds of you making a career high payday, $92 million, and like a week later, you involved in an accident? And someone was saying, I don't know how true it is that the wheel bust or something like that, and you're in a luxury vehicle. Like, I don't know, man. It just something doesn't sound, right to me, but I don't want to, put something out there if that's not the case. But it's just, what are the odds of that happening? You know what I mean?
That's the same thing I said, man. Like, yeah, so other people mentioned that as well. I was like, yeah, that's wild, man. Hey, he was just in a big fight. You know, a lot of odds was on that event, and then bam, he loses two close guys at the same time. So it's a sad situation all around, man.
Real sad situation. My boy Vale, Vale. Last I checked, he was out there in Detroit. Checking on some family members and hanging with family. So I don't know if he'll be able to pop up today or not. But happy holidays and happy New Year's to my boy Vale. If he's not able to log on. Also, I'm gonna go ahead and look inside the checks. I see your boy. Is that Ryan Huntley?
Yeah, Ryan Hanley, salute to Ryan, man.
Yeah, he said, "What's up, guys? I'm at work listening." Okay, hopefully we can keep you entertained at work, man. But don't mess around and get fired. You know what I'm saying? But you're gonna if you do, it's this gonna be some good discussions right here. You know what I'm saying? If this end up being your last day, you understand what I'm saying? But you're not gonna get fired. I know that you're a supporter. Is that one of your guys right there?
Yeah. He's a big fan in boxing, man. We talk all the time. He's out there in like Washington, Seattle, Washington area. So salute to Ryan.
Oh man, I wish I can get up with him because that's one of the places that I want to go to that I haven't been as an adult. Also, you got Bruce Gas Boxing. He says, "Salute, fam." It must be another one of your guys over there.
Yeah, salute.
All right. And so today, fellas, what we're going to be discussing is we got a few boxing topics that we're going to discuss. And then the main portion of the show is going to be discussing the guys that stock rose the most in 2025. And then we got a stock drop list. I got a top 10 pound for pound list that I created. And I think that my boy Ty, he has 5 guys. Did you find it kind of difficult? Is that the reason why your list is so short, or is it the fact you just didn't have time?
Yeah, it's just kind of like with the stock rise, it's kind of like the same name. So I just try to mix it a little bit, and not have the same names in both lists. So
Okay.
yeah, I just try to keep the names different. So
I
that's just what it is.
I got you. And then also we're gonna give some end of the year awards. Things like Fighter of the Year, Upset of the Year, Knockout of the Year, and things of that nature. So those are the things that we're going to discuss. So let's go ahead and start off again, man. Baddest Boxing Podcast. So if you want some of that merch, holla at your Guala, and I get that to you. If you haven't also done so to both of our channels, Ty's channel, in this corner, and then also Last Ones at the Bar. I'm also streaming this on Twitch as well. So if you're on Twitch, just go ahead and come on over to YouTube and make sure you hit the like and sub, and then also subscribe. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and bypass these things. Yeah, man, I ain't even gonna mention that right there, man. That was a goodie right there. I'm looking to go back in March if I can. Heard that you went out there to Canada recently. How was your travels out there?
Man, it was good, man. It was traveling up there was a lot of snow, and then when I got to Canada, it was even more snow. But I enjoyed my trip, man. Did a lot of hiking, and I had a long drive back. The snow wasn't as bad, hit it back, but I'm just glad I got up there safe and sound. I'm glad I got back home safe and sound. So
What part
definitely,
did you go to? What part did you end up in?
I was in Gatineau, Quebec.
Oh, okay. So you over there, not too far from Montreal.
Yeah, I know it was Ottawa, Ontario, but I know the city was Gatineau, but it was Quebec. So
Okay.
yeah. So like I
Yeah.
say, it's my first time really being out the country. So I was just glad, to get that experience, before the year was up. So, traveling, going out the country is definitely going to be on my bucket list. Definitely want to explore that more for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Just getting your feet wet right now. And I'm glad that you had a good experience. Last week, I ended up going to Savannah and Charleston. I had a good time out there. Again, that's something that I want to check off on my bucket list. It's not so many places in the United States that I'm still interested in going to that I haven't been already. But like I said, the last trip that I really am looking forward to would be to Seattle, Portland, and then Vancouver. So I want to create a trip, where I'm putting all of those different legs together, maybe a 10-day trip if possible. So they would have to be the summer. The only thing is on my heart now is the place that I go to in Brazil. Like that's where anytime I get a break and I have, the time to be able to do it, then that's typically where I'll be going. But I'll try to get that United States trip, in there as well. When I went to Savannah, that's the bench I think that Forrest Gump was on, because in the movie Forrest Gump, Chippewa Square is where he was sitting there and telling a lot of his story. You remember that part right there where he was sitting?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Forrest Gump part right there. All right, man, let's go ahead and keep it moving, man. Today is December 31st. I'm not gonna, talk about any historical fights or anything like that because we got way too much on our plate. So I'm gonna keep it moving. If you want to feel, real generous, you can always donate to that Cash App. Don't cap, hit that Cash App. The best nation is a donation. So you got $ Will Hen, let your boy get a little champagne tonight or something. You understand what I'm saying? So anyway, again, that's the attire. Let's get to it. And so the first thing I want to ask you, man, did you see the fight the other day with Inoue and Picasso? And we don't
Yeah,
have
I
to talk
saw
too
it.
long
Yeah.
about it. What were your thoughts though? As far as what you saw?
Yeah, I know, this is it's always different with the Norrie fights, it's you got to get up early to catch these fights. So by the time I called, I think it was like the second or third round. It was a good fight. Picasso, if I'm saying his name right. To me, he was standing his ground. You know what I mean? He was catching Inoue with some shots of his own. He wasn't backing up. He was taking the fight to Inoue. And Inoue, he just seems like he really tried to get you out of it, man. He throws like his shots with so much intention, so much pop. But unfortunately, he got the decision. We all know Inoue for getting those knockouts, but I think his last two fights he won by decision. So, but like he's still the champ. He's still the man. Four title defenses this year. So that's very impressive. So salute to Inoue, man. Coming out with the victory.
Yeah, I'm concerned for him as far as at that age, fighting the bigger guys. That's a lot of mileage on a guy that's 32 years of age. So that's my biggest concern for him. Also in this fight, I was impressed because Picasso was big. He was rangy, undefeated. And then the way Inoue approached it, he was throwing a lot of right hands early on. I saw the skill there. I saw like different levels that he can, showcase and things that he can do inside the ring that very few guys can do in this current era in the sport of boxing. And so I was impressed with that, showing some boxing skills, like you said, always throwing with mean intentions. And I think that he hurt his hand. Hopefully, the reason why I'm saying that is because he was throwing that right hand. It was very impressive the way he was doing it. It's like, you can't stop this. I'm going to keep hitting you with it. And he kept landing it. But then it looked like he hurt his hand because he stopped throwing the right hand probably like 9th round, 10th round until the 12th. He periodically threw it to the body, from time to time. But I was impressed with the victory. However, I wasn't impressed with the Nakatani fight. Did you get a chance to see that? You may have not seen that since you started watching the fight in the 3rd round.
Yeah, I didn't catch it, but I just saw like I saw like his face was real busted up, and I was saying some people say he lost that, but I can't speak on it because I didn't see it. But yeah, his eye looked terrible, man. Like he obviously took some damage in that fight.
Oh, he took a lot of damage. That guy, I don't know what. I didn't know you could be conditioned like that. Like the guy was just like the Energizer Bunny, and he kept coming. He kept, and if you were impressed with Nakatani, it was that the fact that he was able to keep up as much as he was, because the dude could have some power. Wasn't the most technically sound guy, but at the same time, he just kept coming, kept coming. And I thought that Nakatani may have won the first 5 rounds, but after that, I was hard pressed to give him any rounds. I thought that Hernandez actually won that fight, to me. But the travesty of it is one of the judges gave Nakatani the fight 118 to 112. It's impossible. Like that person, should never score another at least championship fight, in the sport of boxing. They should be demoted and then have to prove themselves in order to get back, to be able to, judge a fight, because that was bad, man. I could have sworn that kid won at least. He might have won more. You know what I mean? Like he could have been, the separation could have been more. But he just kept coming. He just kept coming. And I didn't see any wrinkles from Nakatani, and I'll discuss that when I get to about pound for pound, because I can't put him in my pound for pound because he didn't show me any pound for pound, type of skill. You know what I mean? I've seen other guys who they would have shown me something to let me know that they belong in the top 10 pound for pound. When you look at the punch stats right here, Nakatani, total punches, he landed 292 to 273. But when you look at the power punches, you see Hernandez landed more at 247 and Nakatani is 226. But if it's just the trajectory. Nakatani started off fast, but then he kind of went down. And then the other guy, he started fast, but he just kept, his trajectory just kept going up and up and up. You know what I mean? Shout out to both guys. I wish that they could do it over. The other last thing I'm going to say is this, is that Nakatani, his problem is, I don't know if he's going to be that competitive at that weight, because he looked kind of like, I won't say small, but he just didn't look sturdy, to me. But we shall see, man. I just wanted to point that out because we didn't get a chance to talk about that this week. And last but not least, who you going to favor, man? Because Nakatani's in his prime. He's like 27, 28, and you got a new way that's 32, maybe 33 by the time they fight. Who you favoring in that fight? Because styles do make fights, man.
True. I still got to go with Inoue, man. Like he's got the crazy accomplishments. Like I said, he was busy as a champion, fighting 4 times in a year. Like you said, his last two wins were by decision. So I'm not saying that he's losing steam, but who knows, man? Like you said, styles makes fights, but I'm gonna go with Inoue. But he might come out guns blazing. Like the way Nakatani looked, like if Inoue touches him up like that, man, it could be lights out. So, but like you said, style makes fights, but I'm definitely going with Inoue.
Yeah, man. It's just the only thing with Inoue, what I'm starting to see is punch resistance sometimes. Like you get clipped, he kind of buckles a little bit. So that would be my biggest concern. But as far as skill for skill, he's better than Nakatani. Then also he has more experience, in those big fights. The only thing that could work in Nakatani's favor, I'm saying, as far as what happened in his last fight, is that Inoue fights nothing like Hernandez. Like he's not going to be just coming at you. He's like a little pit bull. Hernandez is, and so Inoue fights nothing like that. So that could work out in his favor.
Yeah, I think Inoue does. He does get clipped a lot himself. So like he don't have the best defense in my opinion. So like he could get touched up as well. Like we've seen him get dropped, but he comes back and weather the storm. So but yeah. Who knows? Yeah. Like if Nakatani touches him, he could go down, but he might get right back up and take it to him. So like they just have to see that fight if it happens and they finally cross paths and step in the ring together.
Oh yeah, they're about to do it. Yeah, they're about to do it there in the Tokyo Dome. But I would say that all of those different experiences that Inoue went through, I think that's gonna help him as opposed to hurt him, in a fight against Nakatani. But we shall see. It's only one way to find out, and they're going to go ahead and put it all on the line, like I said, in the Tokyo Dome, and we're going to see who's going to be the emperor of Japan in the sport of boxing. You understand what I'm saying? Also wanted to point out my boy Jake Paul, he's still recovering, you know what I'm saying, after getting knocked out, by AJ. You understand what I'm saying? So hopefully Jake Paul.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Looking like Martin.
Some people, I was like, man, the internet's undefeated, man.
Undefeated, man. Again, man, make sure you hit the like and sub. Serrano's going to be in action. We're not going to do any predictions, but we'll go ahead and recap, this probably this week if we're back on. Again, hit the like and sub button. As far as the boxing news, we can go through this real quick, man. You get 30 seconds, or so. Some people are saying this is a bad fight to try to fix Keyshawn Davis because you got an elite mover in Jermaine Ortiz. What do you think about that fight, man? Who do you think is going to be victorious?
I like Keyshawn in the fight. I think this is a step in the right direction for his career. After that move he pulled out there in Norfolk, so he's got to kind of redeem himself, earn the fans' trust back, and he's got the opportunity to do that next month, the end of next month. So I think he'll come out with the victory, but he's got to stay disciplined. He's got to stay focused. No crazy stuff. Make sure you're training. Make sure you're making weight. And have a successful night, man. Don't do all the silly stuff. So I think he knows that. He's got to earn the fans' trust back. For all that. So I think he'll come out victorious. But like I said, he didn't make weight, so who really knows? So I think Jermaine Ortiz also understands the task at hand. He's gonna be on the undercard of a big card. It's gonna be out there at Madison Square Garden. So both guys know what's at stake. So I just hope they bring their A game and get the fans a good fight.
It's gonna be a tough fight, man. Coming off a long layoff like that, making your first foray into the 140-pound weight class. Again, you got an elite mover in Jermaine Ortiz. He's big too, for that weight. It's just gonna be, to me, if Keyshawn hurts Jermaine Ortiz. Like that's gonna be the thing. If he can't catch him, if he's just off by a beat here and there, Ortiz can make this thing very interesting. It just, for me, with Ortiz, sometimes he doesn't let his hands go enough, and so he leaves a lot, to be desired. And it's like, okay, the other guy landed the probably heavier shot. He might have landed maybe one or two more shots, and Ortiz is moving. And so it's just like he always leave it in the air for himself to possibly be robbed, in the fights that he had, like the Loma fight and then also the Teofimo fight. But we'll see. But that's going to be a tough fight right there. That's a tough one to come back from. So I agree. Again, I'm violating the policy that I create. I said 30 seconds or less on these topics so we can get off into our awards. Conor Ben, man, the thing is he's parked at number 1 for the WBC. He's in line for the Garcia Barrios winner. What do you think about that?
The Conor Ben is what? Is he 154?
Conor Ben, he fought at 160 against Eubank, but how do you?
Yeah, I mean, so you're talking about going down the way, and I remember he did mention the names that was in the lighter weight class after he beat Eubank. So to me, that's just, I think it's kind of. Maybe he's not. Maybe his body's not adjusting it once. I don't know, but I think it's kind of backwards going down.
He can't stay at 160. Like he's food. You know what I'm saying? That was just because they were draining Eubank all the way down so low with the rehydration clause and stuff like that. Even though they got him ranked at number 5 in the Ring magazine, he's not a 160-pound fighter. You would think that he would go down to 154 as opposed to trying to shrink himself all the way down to 147. My problem with this is, how is he number 1 at 147? What has he done at 147? He shouldn't be number 5 in middleweight, let alone have an opportunity to fight against Ryan Garcia and Barrios. They shouldn't even be fighting each other. You shouldn't even have Ryan Garcia fighting no dang on Barrios, because who is he? What did he do? He just lost to Rolly Romero. So all of this stuff right here, this is contributing. When we talk about a stock drop list, the whole sport, when they're doing stuff like this, got Conor Ben at number 1 at welterweight and number 5 at middleweight. What do we have? Like, we don't. He's a talentless guy. Like, what has he done? This disturbs me. Every time I see stuff like this, it makes me mad. And I'm gonna tell you who's at the heart of this. Your boy Eddie Hearn. You got anything else you want to say?
Yeah, like I said, I remember him calling out the guys at the lower weight class. So yeah, I mean, you know, I don't really want to say it, but I mean, if it happens, it happens. But I mean, I ain't entertained at it as of right now.
I've never seen this. Yeah, I've never seen this before in the sport of boxing. My bad. I thought you was.
No. I mean, yeah, but like I said, like right after I remember vividly right after the Eubank fight, he was calling out the guys at the lower classes. So I mean, yeah, I don't want to see it. Like
what about
it's a big weight jump. So like you say, he's going down 2 weight classes. So yeah.
The dude isn't even good though. Like they doing all of this for a guy. It's a lot of guys who would smoke this dude, and they're giving him so many different gifts in order to try to make him a champion. It's crazy, man. What do you think about Usyk, man? He's gonna be fighting Deontay Wilder, man. You like that fight right there for Usyk, and do you like that fight for Deontay Wilder?
Yeah, I saw it earlier about that. I know Usyk been mentioning it, you know, that he wants to fight Wilder next. I think Wilder is definitely happy about it. But I mean, I don't like it, but at the same time, I understand what Usyk's doing. Like he's at the mountaintop right now in the heavyweight division. He's already beat those big names. He rematched them. He beat them again more convincingly. So he don't got nothing else to prove. So if the guy wants to pick and choose, I mean, I'm 100% cool with that. I just think Wilder, you know, I mean, his best days are behind him now. You know, he's been stopped a few times now. So he's older now, but this is you know, to me, his last hurrah to make some serious money and, you know, try to get this victory under your belt. But I don't think he can do it, man. Usyk, he's too fast on his feet. He's got pop. You know, he's got IQ. He's skilled. His skill is levels above Wilder. You know what I mean? Wilder, we all know Wilder just for having the right hand, but we haven't really been seeing that right hand land, you know, in his past few fights. So I think this is easy work for Usyk, but I mean, I'm happy, you know, Wilder can at least get one more shot. But I think this is easy work for Usyk.
It might be, but it's going to be dangerous work. You know what I mean? All while it could be very, very well. It depends on how Wilder approaches this fight. If Wilder just comes out and just wild swinging and that sort of thing, then it can be dangerous as long as it lasts. But if he's over there trying to outbox Usyk is just going to set some traps for him and probably, you know, stop him. So I just hope that, you know, former champ, the Bronze Bomb Squad, I just hope he goes all out because that's dangerous for anybody with their right hand that he has. And as far as Usyk is concerned, I understand it because of the fact that this is his last piece of his era. You know what I'm saying? He already beat AJ. He beat Fury. I guess if he was going to fight my main man Foster, then I mean, that would have been cool too. But you know, I think that's his name, the one that tested positive for cocaine.
Yeah, Parker. Yeah, that's what I wanted to see. Yeah, I was hoping Parker would get the job done, but you know he didn't. So that's out the window now. So that was the fight that I was really looking forward to. But you know, Joseph Parker, he failed the assignment against Since Wally, so that's out the window. So, but like I said, I think Usyk at this point in his career, he has a right to choose, you know, whoever he wants. So I'm cool with it.
Yeah, like I said, this just put a bow tie on his era, so it's no question. Now the question is, Wilder isn't the same Wilder that he was before, but at the same time, he can go out and say that of that era, I was that dude because I whooped all of the guys who were supposed to be the guy at one point, at a certain point in time. Rolly Romero, him and Pacquiao talks is pretty much done because Rolly's going to have to face his mandatory. Also, these are some of the things that make me upset in the sport of boxing. There's two things right here. You're going to see this here. Gary Antoine Russell, your boy Eddie Hearn says he lacks the profile for big fights at 140 pounds. My thing is this: who cares, man? The dude is one of the best fighters in the weight class. Can we just have the best dudes fight the best dudes as opposed to you having guys who are doing this? Hutchinson says money comes first. Who are you, sir? Like, who are you to get to the point where you're talking about money comes first? Nobody how are you going to draw? Against who? You see what I'm saying, man? And that's the reason why I'm upset when it comes to the sport of boxing. But I do want to give you an opportunity, man. I don't know if you want to touch on that, but that's just something that frustrated me. And that's the direction I find myself more and more going on these rants in 2025 as opposed to ever before. But I do want to give you a bit of time because I don't know if you had an opportunity, to talk about your boy who retired recently, Terrence Bud Crawford.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Bud's overall career?
I mean, 3-time undisputed. When he was at 147, he stopped everybody in division. Conquered the big fish, got all the titles. Went up to 154, fought champion in Majima. Then he jumps up a few weight classes and beats Canelo, and it was easy work. It was easy work for Canelo. So easy work for Crawford. But the retirement kind of shocked me. But at the same time, it didn't because, I was hoping and thinking that he was going to challenge, the Janibek law runner. But, of course, that fight didn't even happen. So, and to be honest, I didn't even want to see a Canelo rematch. I know it's big money or whatever. It could be another nice payday. But, it was easy work to me. So, I'm cool. I'm cool with it. He's older. He always was fighting once a year. It wasn't like he was an active champion fighting, 3 times a year and anything like that. So, like I said, he's older, but what he accomplished is amazing. 3 times undisputed, man. So, hats off to the guy. He did his thing.
Yeah, I'm kind of more. I'm actually happy that Buff actually called it a day, man. And I know I'm gonna get a lot of people who are going to, let me see, best viewers, steamboat.com. We're not worried about that, sir. The reason why I'm happy that Bud is leaving the sport is because to me, Bud is a taker, man. See, here's the thing, right? Most of the guys who are pound for pound fighters, or the top pound for pound fighters, they elevate the sport. That's something that I don't see Bud doing. Even though he's as talented as he is, he's still somebody. What I mean by that is this. I don't know who he's going to aspire. Like a lot of times when you've seen the dudes like Pernell Whitaker, Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, a host of other guys, Roy Jones, they always were seeking out at certain points the best opposition. At certain points of their career, they may have gotten to the point where they picked and choose. But I'm going to give you an example of what I'm saying. Never do I see him when he finally decided to fight Errol Spence. When he finally decided to do it. Some people are going to say, well, they were blocking him out. And man, Errol Spence was trying to make that fight for a long time. And he finally decided to fight him after he fought Avanesian. And then Earl didn't have a tune-up fight. He was off for almost 2 years. That's when he finally decided to fight him. So that's one thing. But even after that, people give Madrimov credit now, but nobody wanted to see no dang on Madrimov and Bud Crawford. Then, on top of that, he goes up, identifies that I want to fight Canelo Alvarez. Great accomplishment, sir. Great job. Kudos to you. But that's still leaving another void because not only are you not fighting the best dude at 168, you're not going to fight any of them. You're not going to go back to 154 where all the smoke is. You still just somewhere in limbo fighting somebody, and people are going to be like, oh, okay, just go to middleweight and fight a Lara, fight a Janibek. Who really cares about that, though? So that's the thing that I have about Bud Crawford is I never get a chance to see him like, okay, he's going to get busy. He wants this dude. He's going after. I never see that. And normally with my pound for pound number ones, that's what I see. But I don't think I ever have. But anyway, man, Baddest Boxing Podcast out. Sometimes the most controversial. Some people going to listen to that and they're going to disagree. And you know what? You more than have the right. All right. So this guy's still on that right there. Ty, is it okay for us to go into our 2025 stock rise list? You okay with that?
Yeah,
Good.
let's do it. Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go ahead and do it. Now it's time to go ahead and get it rocking like a cutoff stocking. All right. So now,
All right.
let me. I got the. That might be the stock drop. All right. Let me pause for a second, man. Let me make sure I get it together. All right. So boom.
You said we doing stock. Rise.
Let's do stock. Let's be positive first before we get to the negative.
Facts.
But let me.
Cool.
All right. Let me pull it back up. I don't want to
Brother,
have the wrong thing.
I can go ahead with my number 5 while you do your thing.
All right, so go ahead, man. You
Yeah.
seem like you're an eager beaver, so I'm gonna go ahead and give you an opportunity to jump in there.
All right, so this is why this guy's my number 5. Like a lot of the hardcore fans don't know him. He's up and coming. So if you're not following Scooter Davis, or AKA Derek Davis, he calls himself the Shark. Make sure you follow him, on social media. He's got a big following, upcoming talent out of Maryland. He's fought on Tank and Lamont Roach on the card on PBC. He got a stoppage. Then he fought on out there in Norfolk, on Keyshawn's undercard. Keyshawn was put the headline. He got another stoppage on that card. So, and he just got signed to Top Rank. So he's 9-9, 9 wins, 9 KOs. Top Rank just signed him. So definitely look out for this guy. He's got a good team. He's got Barry Hunter as his coach. He's got a good pad man. So I think he's got a promising career, upcoming guy. So definitely be on the lookout for him. I think he's going to go far with his career. So my number 5 is Scooter Davis.
All right. So for me, before I even get to that, let me go ahead and give a few shout outs, man. You know what I'm saying? We just like I know Ty, you at almost 800 subs. We striving to get close, get to 1,000. I just want to shout out everybody who sub. This is who we do it for, man. Like I'm not worrying about those who aren't part of the program, but those who consistently come. That's the reason why we do the research that we do. And we try to give you the best shows that we possibly can give you for those hardcore boxing fans. Once those other people come on board, that's cool. But right now, this is what we do it for. Shout out to those 600, I'm going to say 21, 22 subs that we have. As far as honorable mention, man, I got a jit, man, Cabal. And so he had the win over Jelly John. And so he's positioned himself to be a player, in the heavyweight division. I also put Sam Noakes. I thought that even though he had a loss against Abdullah Mason, I think he made a good account of himself, and people want to see more of him. And I think that that's somebody that you're going to have to go through in order, to test the waters, in his weight class. So I want to go ahead and give a shout out to Sam Noakes. So I got him as an honorable mention. And then also, I got your boy right here, man. This kid, he's a heavyweight sensation. The only reason why I don't have him in the top 5 is because he hasn't, beaten somebody who isn't past it. But he's on the rise. He continued to rise, and he was even in talks to possibly face Usyk if Usyk decided, to go down that road. But my number 5 for this year in terms of stock rise, I got your boy right here, O'Shaquie Foster, man. O'Shaquie is a skilled, technician at 130 pounds, and he's always been respected by hardcore fans. And, he has a very good ring IQ, elite defense, and I like his ring control. 2025, for me, what gave him the nod to be at the number 5 ranking is his win over Cool Boy Fulton. And so, with that win and the dominant fashion that he won, it's like he's the man in that around that weight class. And so for me, I think that solidified it for him. And I think the sky's the limit. So if you wanted I know he's going to go back down to 130, but there's some big fights down the road for him if he decided to go up to 135 pound weight class. So I think that he positioned himself properly in 2025. So I got O'Shaquie Foster at number 5. What about number 4 for you?
So number 4 for me is Lamont Roach. And this guy, if you asked me a couple years ago, I didn't think Lamont Roach would have elevated to the stardom that he's elevated to. Like, this guy took it to Tank. You know what I mean? He arguably won, but Boston has a lot of politics. Tank's the bigger name, the bigger star, the pay-per-view guy, the knockout artist. But, Lamont Roach took it to him. Tank took a knee, ran in the corner. We never seen Tank do that in the fight. So I think Lamont Roach, they've had experience with each other in the past, but he showed us why he belongs on that big stage. And then, of course, he wanted that rematch, but Tank went in that Jake Paul direction. That fight didn't even happen anyway. But Lamont Roach, what does he do? He jumps right back in there with another tough opponent in Pitbull. He held his own with Pitbull. And two pay-per-view headliners, and he performed very well on both of them. So he's one of the guys for my start for number 4. And I think for 2026, I hope PBC keeps giving him main events, and I know he's going to show up and show out for sure.
It's tough. Yeah, that's one guy that I forgot. And if had I thought about him properly, Lamont Roach definitely would have made the list. But for me, at number 4, which he could be higher, I got Abdullah Mason. And I thought that he quietly, maybe not so quietly, put together one of the most impressive developmental years that I can recall in recent years. I saw him in 2024 when he was in an exciting fight in Norfolk. He got dropped, one of the most exciting fights, of that year. I think he got a second or third round knockout, but he got knocked down a few times. But he pulled through, and they put him in there quickly with a huge puncher for the weight class, and he ended up, passing that test. But he's been passing each test that they put in front of him, like I say. And then also with he has that consistent progress that he's been making. But to me now, he has positioned himself at 135, where Keyshawn Davis really should be having the shine and spotlight put on him. And he kind of took that away from him just by the fact that Keyshawn fumbled the ball so much, but he was able to take the ball and run into the end zone. And like I say, he's just one of those guys who has composure beyond his years, as far as you listening to him in interviews and things like that. He's not doing anything of like buffoonery or anything like that. Comes from a good, solid family. And like I say, he just seems like he's so, mature. Now, the thing moving forward for him is, I think, more experience, making sure that he doesn't necessarily gets involved in those shootouts as much, picking and choosing when you want to go ahead and put, some of those mean punches together on your opponent, and just being a little bit more defensively responsible. Because what I don't want for the kid is for him to kind of fizzle out because he's in so many tough fights, and then he ends up getting clipped along the way. But he has so many physical attributes too: long arms, quick, has power, and he knows what he's doing inside the ring with the high ring IQ. And he has a nice balance between aggression and control, but he needs to stymie that, urge, to want to go ahead and exchange with his opponents. But to me, he's a solid number 4 on my stock rise list. And I think that 2026 may even be better for him than 2025 was. What say you as far as your number 3?
Yeah, so for number 3 is Shakur Stevenson. I mean, we already know Shakur is one of the best, at 135. But what impressed me about Shakur was that, when he fought Zepeda, Shakur gets so much criticism for, being a runner, being a board fighter, you know what I mean? So, but Zepeda, we already seen Zepeda go 24 rounds with Tevin Farmer. But, Shakur is the one that gets labeled as, born as a runner. But in that fight, Shakur, he stayed in the pocket with Zepeda, you know, when he got caught, I believe it was like one of the early rounds, he got caught, you know, almost went through the ropes. But what did he do? He kept his composure and he took it. You know, he took it to Zepeda. And then, you know, so like after the fight, you know, he was backstage talking, you know, the fans, he was saying they said I was a runner, but he shut all the critics up, all the naysayers. And now look what he's doing. He's jumping in there, right in there with Teofimo Lopez, good fighter. You know, the card, the stat, and you know, their main event out there in Madison Square Garden. So I think Shakur Stevenson, for me, his stock definitely rose.
All right, so you guys, this your guy right here, DT.
Yeah, boom, man.
Okay, he says only casuals talk about him. Tough. I don't know what we're talking about. Ain't gonna happen. Lamont number 2, Mason number 1, and then it says Mason don't have high IQ. Said but good IQ. Okay. So for me, were you finished?
Yeah.
My bad. So now, for number 3, I got my main man right here, Fabio Wardley. And the reason I put 5 things down as far as the reason why his stock rose is because he has power that changes fights. He was in a fight earlier this year that I think he was down. He was down in that fight, but then he caught, I think the gentleman's name was Hooney, and he ended up, knocking him out, which could be the knockout of the year. But I think it's one fight in particular that most people would say is the knockout of the year. His composure improved. I like what I saw in that Parker fight. And then he has resilience under fire. You know what I mean? Even when the fight looks like it's not playing out the way it's supposed to, he's always, there to be able to, make that or take that shot that's like game changing. And he did that 2 times this year. Also, his ring IQ is growing. Not one of the best technicians in the sport of boxing or in the heavyweight division, but he's getting better. I mean, he started off late, you know what I mean? But again, and then also the fact that I would say he positioned himself now. I think he even has a belt in the heavyweight division, right? A lot of people didn't give him a chance against Parker. And then now to be in position where possibly being able to fight somebody like Usyk after Usyk fights Wilder, I don't think that a lot of people going into 2025 thought that Wardley would be one of those guys who would be in contention to be able to do so. So for me, he has to be a solid, number 3 on my stock rise list for 2025. Who do you have at number 2?
Yeah, so number 2, you already kind of cleared it up with Dola Mason. Like you said, like when Keyshawn, when his fight fell through, Dola Mason got elevated to the main event. He passed that test. So, he was the main event and on the big stage. He passed it, he passed it. It was successful. Then he fights for a world champion, with Sam Noakes, out the country. And, he was victorious. He was successful. Yes, it was a tough fight. Both guys were cut up, but it was a fan-friendly fight. They went toe-to-toe. But, Dola Mason, he bought that strap to the U.S. So, hats off to him, his family. He's got a good team. I do think he needs to still work on the defense, but he's a young guy. He's got plenty of time, learn from his mistakes. So Dola Mason is definitely, my number 2.
Yeah, so for me at number 2, I got my boy, or your boy, Bud Crawford. So Bud, I mean, a lot of people may have him at number 1, which, I could see that, with the huge victory over Canelo Alvarez. I think people who was not in the know probably thought that Canelo was going to be, successful against Bud, and thought that it was going to be a much more competitive fight. But when you listen to most of the trainers, when you listen to most of the boxers, a lot of those guys were going with Bud. And some was even saying that they thought that Bud may stop Canelo late, in the fight. And so that's neither here nor there. It's just the fact that for him to be able to add another achievement, you know, being undisputed in another weight class, going up 2 weight classes to fight Canelo in probably the biggest event, you know, of the year, at least in the United States. You know, I have to have him a solid number 2, which he could possibly be number 1. I'm just looking at in terms of where a guy was at the beginning of the year and then how much their levels went up in terms of their stock. To me, it's only one guy whose stock rose more than Bud Crawford, but Bud is a solid number 2 on my list.
All right, for my number 1, it's definitely the Mexican monster, David Benavidez. This guy, like, he always shows us over and over, you know, he's willing to take on the best names. You know, he fights David Morrell at the beginning of the year. You know, Morrell, not much pro experience, but still, you know, big guy, a lot of power. You know, David Benavidez gets past him, then he fights Anthony Yard, another big guy. He stops him, and, you know, he slapped Anthony Yard around, and, you know, since, you know, he's not getting that Bivol or better be a fight right now, but, you know, he's moving up to the cruiserweight. Even though cruiserweight isn't stat, he's still moving up to another division. You know, he couldn't get Canelo at 168, so he does his thing at 175. Now he's going to cruiserweight, and he's taking on Ramirez. Ramirez, you know, he's got a lot of experience, like 60-some plus fights. So he's got a lot of experience under his belt. So it's not the fight that I wanted, but I'll settle with it. I'm cool with it. But I think David Benavidez, you know, he shows us over and over he's willing to take on any challenge they put in front of him. He always passes it with, he always passes it with flying colors. So my number 1 start list is David Benavidez.
So the Mexican monster, El Bandero Rojo, okay, or Roja. For me, my number 1 is going to be Dev Dream Haney. The fact that before the year started, you had people saying that this guy, he was a shell of himself. He has PTSD. You know, Ryan did him in. He'll never be the same. Did you see him against Jose Ramirez? He had his track shoes on. And then on top of that, when he decided to go ahead and fight Brian Norman, which some people are going to say, I'm going to tell you like this. Let me just go ahead and keep it real. Let me take the gloves off right now. The man was trying to, he has a list of 10 guys that he wants to fight. He had Teofimo Lopez, who was supposed to fight him, saying that they were going to fight. Then he didn't want to fight. They gave him $11 million, and he was scared to take the $11 million. He had guys like Shakur. He had guys like Boots Ennis. Boots Ennis said that if he's going to fight him, he want to fight him at 152. Dev said, I never fought fully at 147. The list goes on. And Brian Norman was somewhere on the list. Obviously, Tank and all of those guys on there, but Tank, you know, definitely doesn't want any smoke with Debo. So 5 days after the devastating Jen Sasaki fight for Brian Norman, we started to hear that they were in negotiations to face this guy who had the best knockout of the year, a guy who punches like a mule with his left hand, which they're saying that he is susceptible to the left hand. He's going to kill you. Devin really doesn't want the fight. He wants the money and all of this. But they had his stock so low in terms of him being a semblance of what you saw of Devin in the past. For him to go in November, I want to say it was November 22nd, to go out there, Saudi Arabia, put on the show, not only put on the show, the way that he approached the fight, knocked the guy down. Then even after that, they still trying to give him grief. Oh, he was lucky. He wasn't lucky. He just showed a master class. And so to me, now when I look and he's the number 1 guy at 147 pounds, has a lot more options now. People can't use the same stuff that they were using, you know, towards him before, in terms of him having PTSD and all of these other things that they were saying. Now he's the guy in the division. What more can you say? What more can you say about a redemption story? So to me, that's a solid number 1 is Dev the Dream Haney. What do you think about that, man? You think that that's a decent number one?
Yeah, for sure, man. Like, yeah, definitely, man. Like he shut a lot of critics up. You know, a lot of people didn't think he was gonna come into that fight and did what he did, but yeah, he did his thing, man. Like he earned my respect 100%.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Give you some time, man. Get yourself together. As we go through and get to the stock drop list. I hate to have to do it because you don't want to have to speak negative, but at the same time, you got to keep it 100, man. You always got to keep it 100. All right. So now, you say you got 5?
Yep.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and let you go ahead and start cooking, man.
Yeah. So my number 5 stock drop list is Martin McCauley. He's number 5. Like this guy was. They said he was the boogeyman. You know what I mean? We haven't heard about boogeyman in the heavyweight division since probably Luis Ortiz or so. And they said this guy was the boogeyman. You know, he's got the physique. He looks like an ape when he's in that ring. And he takes the fight with Joseph Parker on 2 days' notice. So, okay, we know that's not enough time at all, going into a big fight like that. But here's the thing. They say, you always got to stay in the gym and stay training, stay ready, because you never know when that phone is going to ring. And I think that's kind of what happened with Piccoli. Yes, the money was probably good, and they probably, it was hard for them to refuse it. But still, like when they was doing the announcements, man, like Piccoli just looked big. He just looked big in that ring. So I just like, man, like he's gonna struggle. And look what happened. Like Joseph Parker got him out of there, the first or second round. So, and on top of that, he gets into another fight with Effie Ajabu. That fight ended up being a draw. So as a guy who's proclaimed to be the boogeyman, he didn't win once this year in either one of his fights. So for me, Piccoli, man, he's my number 5.
Yeah, man, I got a couple guys that I put here as far as honorable mentions. I believe I got my boy, Cool Boy. He definitely could be top 5. I can see somebody having Stephen Fulton at number 1. To be honest with you, here's the thing though. I'm not necessarily. I've never really been big on Stephen Fulton, not to that degree. I think he's a good fighter. Don't get me wrong, and I think he has some skills. My thing is sometimes how is he against the elite guys? Not the Figueroas. Like he can whoop the Figueroas and people like that. But then when he ended up fighting against the monster, and then he fought an elite boxer when he fought against Oshaki, recently. Now again, Oshaki was bigger, but that's just always my dilemma with Stephen Fulton. How is he gonna mix it up? How is he gonna get busy? How is he gonna look? Is he going to wreck shop, against some of those guys, who are equally skilled or just highly skilled, guys. And so that's the reason why I don't have him in the top 5. But I will say this is that he has to be somewhere on the list because of the fact that he put up such a stinker, in that last fight that he has. And to me, I don't know what is he going to do moving forward. Is that going to be something that he's going to have to deal with psychologically, because that was a bad performance and it looked like he stopped trying. And so when guys get to that point, it's like, can you turn it on and turn it off? So I just have question marks in terms of Stephen Fulton moving forward. I also put Jelly on here because Jelly, before the Cabal fight, again, he was a player. He was one of those guys who was very close to positioning himself, in order to get a fight with somebody like a Usyk or somebody else, possibly, maybe even a Wortley now, if had he not lost, in his last fight. So again, at his age, what is this going to do for him moving forward? It looks like it's the end of the road for old Jelly, but he had a lot more promise going into the 2025 year. But my number 5, man, I got your boy, Brian Norman Jr. And the reason why I got Brian Norman Jr. is at number 5 is for several reasons. One is he has so much hype, in the summer, after that Sasaki fight. Like a lot of people were saying that this guy, he's the number one, he's the top guy at 147. He's the boogeyman. Nobody wants to fight him. And then as soon after that, Dev takes the fight. But even going into the fight, a lot of people were supporting him. Not only the fact that they supported him and saying that, he's going to demolish Devin Haney. Again, I like his dad. I mean? I like their team. It's just that the perception of his father after the fight, because going into the fight, he was on pretty much every different channel, promoting the fight, talking about his son, what he's going to do to Devin, and all of these sort of things. And it just seemed like since the fight has been over with, now it could be the fact that the fight's over with, and now I'm just going to go back to living life. It's just the perception, to me, is what I'm talking about. But with the hype that he had, and he's not a hype job, but he did have a lot of hype after the Sasaki fight. And to me, that is something that has diminished, quite a bit, afterwards. And I'm trying to figure out, is he going to be boxed out in 2026, 27? Because he still is dangerous, and he may be somebody that people can avoid. So I'm just trying to figure out what's going to be the next step for Brian Norman, moving forward. What do you have at number 4?
Yeah, so for my number 4, it's Joseph Parker. So like Joseph Parker, man, he was on a nice run, beat Wilder, beat Zalezong, beat Piccoli, and then he gets stopped against Fabio Worley. But here's the thing, he's been stopped before. We know that against the Juggernaut, but he was on a nice run, and like if he got past Fabio Worley, I believe he could have been right there at that position to face for undisputed against Usyk. But not only did he get stopped, but he also tested positive for cocaine. So like that was a bad look. With that nice run you was on, you get stopped and you test positive for cocaine. So I think that was just a bad look on his part. You know what I mean? As close as he was to getting that big shot. So like I was disappointed in that. So Joseph Parker is definitely my number 4.
Okay, I like that. All right, so for me, at number 4, I got old Canelo, man. Yeah, I got Canelo at number 4. The reason why I have Canelo at number 4 is obviously he's still a superstar, but after the Bud fight, he's been damaged. Like the legend narrative has been damaged, because it's hard to put him up there and make a case for him being better than some of the other, or even being in the same stratosphere as some of the other legends, because he doesn't really have that signature victory. Like what other top level guy that he's beaten? See, you can say like the Marquez got the Pacquiao fight. You got Salvador Sanchez, you got the Gomez, and it's a list of other guys who have signature victories. Without the Bud win, and then the manner in which he lost it, and then also he's been, accused of taking calculated risk and avoidance, and making business first decisions over legacy fights. And so to me, he didn't necessarily fall off that much physically, but his pound for pound credibility did, And like I say, when the standard is greatness, playing it safe feels like you're losing, So for me, going into 2026, he's not getting any younger. And I don't think that if Bud decides to come out of retirement, if he gets the money that he's looking for, I don't see that being any better. I think it'll get worse for Canelo if he decides to go in that direction. And then if he doesn't go in that direction, I think that his mystique isn't there. And some of the guys at 168, if he decides to fight one of those guys, that they'll be extremely confident. So I'm just, going into 2026, it's going to be interesting to see where Canelo goes from here. So I got him at a solid number 4. What about number 3 for you?
Yeah, so for my number three, you already kind of mentioned it, is you already threw his name out there, Cool Boy Horton. Like, I was a fan of the guy, man. You know, I met Cool Boy a few times. Um, I know he had that bad loss to, you know, Inouye, but to me, his comeback was great. You know, he fought the guy Carlos Castro. He was dropped in that fight as well, but he got back up, kept his composure, banged it out with him, landed big shots of his own. You know, made his way to a decision victory. Then he, like I said, he beat. You mentioned that he beat Figueroa in the rematch. He did it better than he did the first time. A lot of people said, you know, the first one was very like Cool Boy could have possibly lost that, but he made it easy the second time around. And but like, man, I don't know what happened with the Shaki Foster fight. Like, he didn't make weight, and then like you said, his performance just wasn't good. So I don't know what it was, man. Maybe he was upset he didn't make weight, and just maybe that just messed him up, and he just went in there and didn't perform. I don't know. But so like you said, that makes me wonder, like, how's he going to perform in his next fight? You know what I'm saying? So that definitely disappointed in that, coming in, you know, not making weight, and then a poor performance. So Cool Boy Fulton is definitely my number three.
Gotcha. So for me at number three, I got old Ryan Garcia. And the reason why I have Ryan Garcia at number three is, again, he has so much hype. Even with the fact that he tested positive, people were still kind of ignoring that, you know, as far as what he did in the Devin Haney fight. And so for him to have the stinker that he had against Rolly Romero, and then you couple that with Devin Haney winning a world title, it's like you can't really justify what Ryan did when he fought Devin, because he looked so bad. He looked like somebody who needed a performance enhancer, and it just wasn't in his system because he didn't look like he was punching, you know, as hard. He didn't look as threatening. With Ryan Garcia, talent never really has been the issue, but discipline is always the issue. Also, the excuse making after the losses, the inconsistencies, the distractions, uneven performances. You know, it makes it harder for his fan base to defend and claim he's an elite fighter. And that's more so the case now. It's even to the point where it seemed like it's a roll of the dice, you know, for his fans to feel confident, you know, moving forward. Even in this Barrios fight, it's like Ryan Garcia, he better, you know, be on point. You know, and Mario Barrios, in some estimations, is one of the weakest champions in the sport of boxing. The star power remains, but this might be the end of the straw for him. But as I said before, even if the star power remains, the trust in Ryan Garcia does not. So for me, in 2025, he's a solid number three on my stock drop list. The only reason I don't have him higher is because he's still getting these opportunities.
Yeah, so my number two, I hate to say it, but it's Tank Davis. Like, Tank Davis, you know, you can argue that he lost that Lamont Roach fight. Like I said, the rematch was what everybody was looking forward to. And, you know, the rematch didn't even happen. And then what does Tank do? He signs a deal to fight Jake Paul, which didn't make sense at all. The guys are not even in the same weight class. Jake Paul is a YouTuber. Obviously, Tank is doing this for the bag. Then that fight doesn't even happen. And Jake Paul ends up fighting AJ. So you finally get in a real fight where a guy takes it to you, drops you, and you run to your corner. You know, everybody was saying he won, and you didn't even get the fans. You didn't even get the fans a rematch, you know, to run that back. So, and like I said, then you try to fight Jake Paul. So it was just, to me, that was just a bad look on Tank all around. So yeah, like I said, I always had to ride with my guys from Maryland, but I can't do that with Tank. So Tank is a solid number two for me.
Oh man, you kept it a thou while, man. You know, for me, I had Tank at number two. I'm not gonna belabor, you know, as far as what you said. I just add a few more points that, you know, as far as Tank, the power, you know, is unquestioned, you know, still, you know, but that resume, you know, He also is starting to have longer and longer layoffs. You know, he's recycling opponents. Even now, they're talking about, okay, Cruz, you know, or just you get missed opportunities. You know, he could have had a true rivalry with Lamont Roach, and like you said, he decided to try to go in the Jake Paul direction, and that didn't work out. And the last but not least, man, like when you somebody like Tank and you market it, you know, as this elite pound for pound cash cow of the sport of boxing, you know, it gets to a point where those potential knockouts aren't enough, right? But what matters is elite wins, and hopefully before his career is up, you know, that's what that starts to sink in for him. But right now, you know, it's hard to make a case, you know, for his fans in terms of where Tank Davis or what's up with Tank Davis. The sad thing, though, Ty, is that as I was putting it, and we haven't started the pound for pound list just yet, I can still make a case for Tank to be pound for pound. I'm saying in this landscape of boxing, like that's how pathetic it is right now. But anywho, who do you have at number one?
Man, so for me, my number one is Keyshawn Davis. Like, I just think what he did was so bad out there in Norfolk, man. Like, you the star of the show, you the main event, you the headliner. That fight doesn't even happen because you didn't make weight. You lose your title, you didn't get paid. You know what I'm saying? So that was just bad all around. You know what I mean? The people who went out there, they got refunded for that. So I think that was just a bad move. I'm sure Bob Arum was upset with that. On top of that, you know, you fighting backstage. You fighting backstage with your brother's opponent. You know what I mean? And then on top of that, you out in the crowd, you out in your crowd laughing it off, talking with people like nothing even happened. So
Eating popcorn.
Eating popcorn. So that was just bad all around. Like Keyshawn, like he was making a name for himself. He was good fighter, good champion. Not a lot of pro fights, but he was doing his thing. You know, he was doing his thing as an upcoming superstar. But that was just bad all around. But you know, like I said earlier, he started next month. He's got this opportunity to redeem himself, earn the fans' trust back, and you know, get back in the midst, and you know, just stay disciplined, stay focused. Don't be distracted by the outside stuff. You know, stay in the gym, like you know what I'm saying. So, but yeah, Keyshawn Davis is definitely my number one for that stuff he poured out in Norfolk.
Yeah, I got him number one too, easily for me. And you know, it's everything that you said. It's like Top Rank kind of gave him the red carpet, you know, and Top Rank a lot of times they don't do that for a lot of guys. Where they got him, they building this fan base, where they starting off in his hometown, you know, solidifying that fan base. Also, one thing that you didn't mention is on the card, it was basically a Davis card. Like they had his brothers on there, they got his sister doing the national anthem, they got his mother being a choreographer. Like it was a whole Davis production. And you end up messing that thing up. And then on top of that, a lot of us, you became like our favorite fighter. We're like, oh, we got one now. Just the way he was talking, saying the right stuff, you know. So that's the reason why it makes it even more, you know, disturbing. Hopefully, you know, for your sake, you kind of got a dang on, you know, they looked out for you, you know, in terms of allowing you to get this opportunity with Ortiz, you know, moving forward in January, because you could have been locked out. And fortunately for you, you got guys who were scared to face, you know, old boy. So you ended up being able to get in there. And when I say that, I'm talking about Hinchins and guys like that. So he was able to get, you know, another opportunity. So hopefully you'll take advantage of this opportunity. But right now, it would even be worse. Like if he didn't have that coming up, then it would be even looking worse, you know, for Keyshawn moving into 2026. But that's the end of our stock drop list, man. Yeah, that's pretty good, man.
Yeah, like
I,
we both had him as number one, so pretty surprising. You know, what I mean, that was like I said, that was just bad what he pulled, man. It was a bad thing. And then
yeah,
all like I said, arguing with Abdullah, and he's not even, you know, he's not even your opponent. You know what I mean? He's still, you know, he's still on the come up. You know what I mean? You fussing with him, but he, like I said, Abdullah ends up being elevated to the main event status, and he delivered. So he took your spotlight. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, that's crazy, man. Like I don't
yeah,
know if I ever seen something like that, like the buffoonery that I saw. And you got your kid in your hand, and it just looked all bad right there. Before we get off into this pound for pound, have you had a chance to see Keyshawn in recent interviews?
I just saw where he was him and Richardson Hitchens was going back and forth. I mean, it was entertaining and all that, but I was like, is he really doing this after that mess he pulled? But I didn't know at that time, you know, he had to fight with Jermaine Ortiz. But I mean, Hitchens isn't even Hitchens is fighting George Kambosos and guys like that. So I mean, I entertain it when they finally in the ring, but I was like these two guys that's kind of I'm not gonna say irrelevant, but it was just like two guys. I guess they were just trying to have some spotlight or something because they was out there, you know, for the you know, the Teofimo, you know, they was out there doing their thing, you know, just being there for that press conference and all that. But I just, like I said, I didn't know that Keyshawn had the fight lined up with Ortiz. But like I said, it was entertaining back and forth with him and Hitchens. But like I said, like hopefully we can see that fight. But that's the only thing that I've really seen. I haven't seen anything else with him.
Yeah, only reason I asked is because when I saw him at first, I was like, it seemed like this kid is growing, you know, in terms of having a level of maturity and calmness because they were saying certain things to him that a typical Keyshawn, like the way he was conducting himself in that press conference when he was going up Abdullah, he would have like been a little bit more edgy and he would have been like trying to shoot back at him. But he was listening to what they had to say, and then he was kind of processing what they had to say, and then he was responding in a pretty calculated manner. And I was like, maybe, you know, he's learning and he's getting some support in that area where he's not so compulsive, you know what I mean? And so, but he could have just been excited when he was able to reveal the, you know, information about him fighting Ortiz. But the way he was talking then, I'm like, I don't know if he learned his lesson. You know what I'm saying? Just the way he was talking, man. So I don't know. I was just on the outside looking in. My friend of mine, his niece is married. I mean, they have the kid together, and so he's telling me some things, and I'm like, hopefully that isn't something that kind of keeps him distracted. But we'll see, man. Let's go ahead and get off into this pound for pound list, though.
Okay.
You said you got 5.
Yeah, I just got 5.
All right, man. I'm just gonna go through my first 5 real quick, and then I'll go ahead and turn it over to you once I get to number 5. I'm gonna take this off for 1 second because I want to make sure. All right, so we stop that. Because with this one, I have to go reverse. So let me go ahead and go back there. And man, that'll give you some time to chill for a second because you've been chopping it up for a good. How long we been here?
That's what we do, man. This is the sport we love, so that's what we're here for.
That's a fact. That's a whole fact right there. Let me see where my
But I will say that I was going to throw Lamont Roach in here. I still can throw him in here, but like I said, I just had him on my start rise, so I just try to keep it balanced, not mention the same names. I mean, which I can still do, but like I said, Lamont Roach was in there, but I just kind of mix it up with these names. So
yeah, man. You know, do as you just that show list. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Let me see. Okay.
Like I said, I never thought Lamont Roach would elevate it to the star that he is. You know, like I said, if you asked me this years ago, you know, he lost to Jamel Herring, but like I said, like this past year was huge for him, even though he didn't win either of his fights. But you know, we know he won, but you know, he got 2 draws on paper, but he still main evented both of them. He still performed. So hats off to the guy.
Yes, sir. Now, this was the toughest pound for pound list that I ever had to come up with. When we do our pound for pound list, this is the criteria that we use. And so we look at 30 points for quality of opposition, achievements 30%. We got eye test 30%, and then you got seeking out or avoiding competition is the last 10%. So for me, at number 10, I got a 3-way tie, man. I got Tank. I got Virgil Ortiz. I got Ja Obataia. When you look at the Ring magazine, they have Junta Nakatani in there, and I had to remove Junta Nakatani because I couldn't see any of these guys, or most guys who are elite level fighters, having that type of trouble and showing that lack of skill. These guys are on here for different reasons. Tank, I've seen him. Tank is still a high level guy. It's just he doesn't fight who you want him to fight. And he does it on a consistent basis. He never gives you the fights against the top level guys. I got Virgil on here. See him in Boots. I don't know, man, because I don't trust Eddie Hearn. And as far as Boots is concerned, I can't give it to him fighting Lima. Like I just can't put you in there when you do that, man. And no, so I can't put him in there. But I do when I look at Ortiz, he doesn't have the accomplishments, but I've seen him fight against Madri Mall, who gave Bud Crawford all type of trouble, who was a former champion. He also has the win against the Borchuk guy. So I can give him credit for that. He seemed like he's getting better. Then I got Ja Obataia. He's good, but it's like, who are these dudes you beating? You know what I'm saying? But he looks devastating. He looks like he's the creme de la creme of his division. But the Bredis win is a reason to have him solidly in the top 10. But if I had to go with it, I probably would put Ja Obataia because it's a lot more question marks about the other two. But that's the point system had me with these 3 guys tied. Mm-hmm. At number 9 is a surprise. Like I got Teofimo Lopez at number 9 because he's still winning. You know what I mean? He had the loss against Kambosos, but you know he has belts in a couple different weight classes. And also I put him at number 9 too because it would be that much sweeter for Shakur Stevenson if he's able to beat another guy that's in the top 10 pound for pound. But when you look at the landscape at the sport of boxing, it's tough. These last, couple guys, it's very difficult, man. At number 8, I got the Mexican Monster. Mexican Monster is a solid number 8. The only thing that he's missing is the Bivol and Benavidez. Better B's fights. But he's solid, man. You know about the resume, the fights that he took. He didn't have to take the Morrell fight. He talks the right talk. The list of I wouldn't say accomplishments, but his resume is starting to be one of the better resumes in the sport of boxing. And he's jumping up to fight Zerto next. So he's fighting solid level opposition, right? Then also at number 7, I got Arthur Beterbiev. Arthur Beterbiev he's starting to slow down a little bit, and for good reason, because he's 40 plus years of age, but he's still a monster, man. He's still somebody that to be reckoned with, but he's taking these long layoffs as well. But he's a solid number 7 on my list. Number 6, I got Shakur. Shakur is number 6, 3-time 3-division champion. And then also, he's looking to fight Tio. Doesn't necessarily have to take this fight. Only drawback for me is the fact that, when he has the conversation about Keyshawn, I don't like that buddy stuff, man. We buddies, man. Let's go ahead and get in that ring and make some money together. But outside of that, I got him at a solid number 6. But I'm gonna turn it over to you because I want to let you get some of your list off as well.
Yes, sir. But I would just like, since I mentioned remote Lamont Roach, I'll just say he's my nemesis. So, but number five is be Clarissa Shields. Now I know women's boxing doesn't have, you know, a deep pool like the male boxing, but Clarissa Shields, a lot of people dislike her. The stuff she was saying about Layla Ali, the back and forth with Remy Ma, dealing with Papoose and all that. But she talks a game, but she backs it up. You can't deny that. She backs it up. She's undefeated. She moved up to heavyweight. Like, I'm not even really familiar with the heavyweight names in the women division, but she still went up to heavyweight. In her first fight, she drops it. She drops the lady, stops her. Then she got the belts at heavyweight. Then she has a couple more fights at heavyweight. She passed those, in her hometown. Doing her thing in her hometown. And now she's fighting Franchon DeJean, if I'm saying her name right. They both fought in her debut fights years ago, and now they're bringing it back to us, at the heavyweight stage. So Clarissa Shields, she shows that she takes risks, she moves up in different divisions, she backs up everything she says, she brings it in that ring, so she's doing her thing. You know what I mean? So you can argue that she's the number one female fighter. You know what I'm saying? So, like, we got a fight to look forward to with her and DAZN in the rematch. So, to me, Clarissa Shields, she's my number five.
All right, so you got her at number five. Let me go ahead and go over here. Oh, here we go. So for me at number five, I got Jesse Bam Rodriguez, who's 26-0 with 16 KOs. As far as the reasons why I got him on the list is that he got elite wins, at elite weights. He has the quadris wins. He has the wins. I mean, he just against some of the elite guys, the Francisco Estradas, you know what I mean? Dudes like that. So he already has that underneath his belt. Really, when I think about this, I should have Bam higher. He has the skill, he blends like technical precision and controlled aggression. He has those angles that he uses, and his defense, he's starting to mature even more with his defense. He does a very good job of being able to be on defense and also get his stuff off, like with the fluidity that he does, and he has, some key wins. Well, had at least a key win in his last fight. I like what I saw in that unification matchup that he had against Fernando Puma Martinez. And, they fought at a high pace, but Bam just showed that he was an elite fighter fighting against an elite pressure fighter. He showed superior timing, the defense, the composure, and then he ended up taking this guy out. I want to say it was like the 9th, 10th round. But to me, it was just a thing of beauty. He just does everything with such fluidity. And the sky's the limit for the kid because he's one of the youngest reigning, world champions in the sport of boxing and one of the most skilled guys in the sport of boxing. So at a solid number five, I got Jesse Bam Rodriguez. Who do you got at number five?
Yeah, my five is Clarissa Shields. So number four, number four, you already kind of mentioned him, the Dream, Devin Haney. Man, like you already cleared these things up, man. Like Devin Haney, man, this guy, a couple of years ago, he went to George Gamboa's hometown, beat him, flew back over there, beat him again. His resume is solid to be the young man that he is. Fought Linares. This guy took it with Loma. I know it was back and forth on who won that, but he still fought Loma. Loma's the Matrix, got the best footwork. He took it to Loma. He moves up to 140, and he made Prograis look like an amateur. And yes, we know the situation with Ryan Garcia and all that, but that fight, the decision got reversed. It got overturned to a no contest. And now look what he does. He jumps up to 147, and he doesn't take any tune-ups. He doesn't take any soft touches. He jumps in there with a champion, a power punching champion, and look what he did to the champion. He put him down, Brian Norman didn't have anything for him. Like Brian Norman's face was busted up. Like Devin Haney just shows us why he's one of the most skilled guys, one of the youngest guys. To me, his record, even though he's a young man, his record as of right now is definitely Hall of Fame. And I'm sure he's going to continue to fight the good names, continue to give us those good fights, continue to show us his skills. So hats off to the guy. Like moving up to 147 and beating the guy is definitely a big accomplishment. So hats off to Devin Haney, the dream.
Listen, man, I done said so much about Debo already. It's nothing really more for me to say. You know what I mean? But I would just be continued the same narrative of what it is that you said. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to fall back and go ahead and let you cook on your number 3.
All right. So, yeah, for my number 3, it's definitely Alexander Usyk. Like, we know this guy, like I said, man, this guy moved up from cruiserweight to the biggest division in boxing. And not only does he beat these guys, he beats them again in the rematch more convincingly. And like, you know, the situation with Darren Dubois was a lot of controversy. Usyk, was it a low blow? Was it not a low blow? Usyk was just trying to buy some time. And what happened in that fight? He still ended up stopping Dubois, but you know, it was a lot of controversy with that low blow situation. What does he do? He said, okay, let's run it back with Dubois. And what does he do in the rematch? Man, he drops Dubois with the hook. Dubois loses the mouthpiece. Now the ref is counting Dubois. He can get up. He's not out. He's not out flat on his back. And he didn't want it. The ref was counting. He was just staring. Got right up and went to his corner. So you see, man, he keeps showing us over and over why he's sitting at the mountaintop as undisputed. Now, like I said, I don't like that he wants to fight Wilder, but at this point, I think he can do what he wants, man. He beat AJ back-to-back. He beat Fury back-to-back. He beat Dubois. You know, he shows us why he's sitting on top of the throne. So Usyk is definitely, you know, he's definitely my number 3. Like, also, he moves like a middleweight, even though he's a little older. He's got IQ. He moves like a middleweight. He's fast. He's definitely one of the most skilled fighters we've seen in our time. So my number 3 is definitely Alexander Usyk.
That's what's up. So for me at number 3, I got Dimitri Bivol, who's 24-1 with 12 KOs. Don't let those 12 KOs fool you. He has enough, you know, popping those punches to keep you, you know, respectful. He has, you know, beat Prime Canelo clearly, elite fundamentals at the championship level. I like his balance, his footwork, that jab, the fence, punch placement. And Bivol executes boxing's the basics like at an elite level. He doesn't do anything that you just wows you, but everything that he does is at an extreme high level. Consistency against world champions or world-class opponents. Whitewash Zerto. He beat Beterbiev. Has victories over, like I say, Canelo. And, you know, he's been a long reigning champion. Defense that can neutralize power. But here's the thing, more so than anything else that I can say, I'm going to list off a few other things before I get to my point. The high ring IQ and the discipline is top tier. One of the best heavyweights, like if you put, I wouldn't say Mount Rushmore just yet, but I will say he would be a tough out for any light heavyweight in light heavyweight history. All right. But this is what I want to say, that this is the biggest credit that I can give him, is the fact that his heart, to be able to go against Beterbiev, what he did in that rematch to me was remarkable, and it was unthinkable. I didn't think that he would take that approach. And I don't even know if that was the game plan in the fight. What he did was he was more stationary in the rematch. And so it looked like Beterbiev was going to get the best of him around the 5th, 6th round. What he did was he withstood what Beterbiev was bringing to him, and then he started to kind of outgun him, and Beterbiev really didn't have enough stamina to be able to keep up the pace that he was working at, and then he just started keeping him off balance with stuff once he kind of put him in his place. And so that was remarkable to me, because he showed that championship elite level will that it takes in order to beat another marquee fighter and another upper echelon pound for pound caliber opponent. So for me, at a solid number 3, I got Dimitri Bivol. Who do you got at number 2?
Yeah, so number 2 is definitely Inouye. Man, Inouye. Like I said earlier, this guy fought 4 times this year. 4 times in 1 year. You don't see that too much with champions. You know, even Floyd, we all know Floyd was like one of the best of his era. And Floyd was fighting once a year until he got, the contract deal with Showtime fighting twice a year. But Inouye, man, this guy is fighting 4 times a year as an active champion. They said this is something we ain't seen since 1983 when Larry Holmes did that. So, and not only like 2 of the fights that he had earlier this year, he got KO'd. So, Inouye, he like I said, man, he shows us over and over, why he's undefeated. I do think he needs to work on the chin, but like 4 times fighting in a year as a champion, that's crazy, man. And I hope he gives us that momentum for 2026. So for me, my number 2 is definitely Inouye.
I'll just add a few other things, because you nailed it. Once again, in terms of why Inouye would be regarded as one of the guys. Not only with the things that you mentioned, but all of the accomplishments, like going up from so many different weight classes, and he's starting to put together a pretty nice resume as well. What I'm starting to recognize more from Inouye is the technical skill, because the knockout isn't always there, but he has so many physical attributes. He doesn't do it like Manny Pacquiao, but I'm saying that he does have some unorthodox things that he does, that he's the only one who does those things. And typically, he has elite level power that can kind of bust you up consistently, with the peak performances that he has. I never or rarely do you see him in a fight that could go either way. You know what I'm saying? And so he's kind of like so much higher as far as skill level than the fighters that he's facing. And it's getting to the point where it's not Roy Jones like, but I'm saying like Roy beat some dudes who were like quality guys, but they kept saying he didn't beat anybody. But it's just like, I'm just that good, And so I'm starting to see that, because some people, they may not say it now, but the MJ fight that he had in his previous opponent, a lot of people were saying that, me included, like MJ might be the guy that's going to give him, that sort of fight. But he probably won maybe 10 rounds, to 2, against MJ, who was regarded as the second, best fighter in like his 4th, 5th weight class. So, I mean, it's nothing much more that you can say outside of the fact that he's deserving of his placement at number 2 on our pound for pound rankings. Now, let's go ahead and get to it, man. Who do you got at number 1, man?
And
don't tell me nobody that's retired already. Don't tell me that.
Terrence Bud Crawford. I mean, like I said, man, this guy did his thing at 140, undisputed. 147, undisputed. Stopped everybody at 147. Stopped the big fish. Got all the belts. Moves up another division. Fights a champion Majimov. And then he skips other divisions to jump up to 168. Now we know Canelo's lost before, but the difference is when Canelo lost the previous times, it was to Floyd. It was to the best. I mean, he lost to the best. He lost to the TBT. So then he loses to Bivol, but Bivol, Canelo jumped up another way. Bivol, his range, his reach, that was just too much for Canelo. But most critics had Bud losing this fight because Bud was jumping up, and they was like he didn't stop Majimov. Now he's jumping up and he's taking on one of the best at 168. But man, Bud did his thing, made easy work of Canelo. It was at times in there, Canelo looked frustrated. It looked like he would just get ready to walk off in one of the rounds. So he beats Canelo, becomes undisputed, in another weight class, 3-time undisputed. You know what I mean? So, and he had fun doing it. So to me, Bud is definitely my number 1. So happy retirement to Bud.
He's retired though, man. Like, how you gonna get? Is he a pound for pound emeritus? In like he can be. What about next year? He's gonna be pound for pound next year too.
Say it again.
I said, is he just gonna be the champion emeritus For it's the fact that he's retired and he's still able to be pound for pound when you got active fighters still out here. Are you going to allow him to be the pound for pound champion next year too?
Yeah, but how many fighters announce retirement and ditch it? So, but I mean, I think Buzz is legit. I mean, he's older. Like I said, he was always fighting once a year. But so I think his retirement is legit. But we've seen this a lot of times, man. We've seen it with Floyd. Floyd ditch retirement after De La Hoya fights Ricky Hatton. You know what I mean? He said he's retiring after Ricky Hatton. He comes back, fights Marquez. Tyson Fury was the king of saying he was retired. So who knows really? But only person that really knows the answer is Bud.
All right, man. I'm gonna keep mine as far as the active fighters, man. So I got to go with the Alexander Usyk. My man Usyk, guy has to be number one. You know, especially if Bud is retired. You know, being undisputed champion at cruiserweight, being undisputed champion at heavyweight, the seamless move to heavyweight, you know, dominating guys and beating people like Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, the list goes, Dubois, you know, the list goes on, man. But, you know, you can't talk about Alexander Usyk if you don't talk about the technical mastery of Usyk, you know, combining the elite footwork. You mentioned it earlier as far as the fact that he moves like a middleweight. The angles. I think guys from that Eastern European bloc that they utilize those angles because Lomachenko used to do that as well. Supreme timing, high ring IQ. I don't think that anybody in the chat would argue as far as him being one of the most elite guys when it comes to ring IQ. Undefeated record against top level opposition. And like I say, even at cruiserweight, the Bradis win, the Gasayev win, the Blue win. And last but not least, man, this dude is a master, you know, strategist inside the ring. You know, he combines the ring generalship with the adaptability. You saw how he dismantled Dubois in a rematch, which you mentioned before, in terms of he chose a totally different approach. First fight, he was more cautious. Not that he was cautious, but he was more cautious. But the second fight, he just brought it to him. Like, I'm just going to go straight to this dude's chin. And he's showing that he's getting better, you know, as he ages, which is a remarkable thing. So I just want to shout out to Alexander Usyk, man. You are my number one pound for pound fighter in 2025, especially with Bud Crawford announcing his retirement. I don't think that there's a question to me, especially as far as what I saw with Inoue. Like with Inoue in his last fight, I can't see Alexander Usyk struggling. In the moments that Inoue was having not a lot of trouble, but at the same time, I think an opponent like that, you will have Usyk figuring him out, taming them, and making it look a lot easier than Inoue did. So that's a separation between the two for me. Any last thoughts that you have as far as the pound for pound rankings, man?
No, I said good choice. Usyk is number one. Like I said, you said everything that I pretty much mentioned. Like I said, he moves like a middleweight. He was undisputed at cruiserweight, and like I said, and he's not the biggest guy in that division, but you know, like I said, he's fighting the giants. Fury's a bigger guy. AJ was the bigger guy, and he beat those guys. Not only he beat him again. So like I said, Usyk is definitely should be on anybody's pound for pound list.
Yeah, man. Yeah, shout out to those guys, man. And all three of them, if you include your Bud pick, they've been at the top of the pound for pound rankings for like the last 3-4 years. Because I was looking when I'm going through the slides that I was creating, and I'm like, okay, hey, 2022, like this dude is still right here. This guy's still right here. And so it's remarkable for them to be as good as they've been for as long as they've been. You know what I mean? So shout out to those guys, man. It's almost time to go ahead and get to our last part, man. This is the new year, man. This, you know what I found out, Ty? Like when we doing this episode, you guys typically come on around this time more so than I do. This feels weird to me to be having a show during this time of the night.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you usually do it on, the weekend. We just try to like do it when we can, when everybody's off from work and all that. So yeah, I mean everybody got a different time, but yeah, I can do it I can do it early, I can do it late. It don't matter to me as long as I got the time. So yeah.
For me, as long as I got me a nap. You know what I'm saying? Like I was moving around early, man. I got to get that old man nap in. I'm not a spring chicken anymore. I might be the same rooster, but I just can't do what I used to. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah. Sure.
but they ain't what the ladies say though. They say you ain't. That's
Yeah.
a whole nother conversation, man. But in 2025, we talked about the pound for pound guys and things of that nature. But what we want to go ahead and kind of end on, I know Ty, he loves hip hop, so I'm gonna let him finish up with some suggestions that he has as far as hip hop in 2025, moving into 2026. But we do want to give out some awards as far as things like I say, fighter of the year, the event of the year. If you think about it, Ty, and some of these you may be caught off guard with, because I just added from what it is we discussed in previous years. Also, before we get to this, man, I just want to thank you, man. I appreciate you even doing this because I know it takes a lot, to be able to go between the different topics and whatnot. And then also it takes some time to go ahead and put your list and things like that together. And that takes some,
Thank you. Yes.
process. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It takes some research and it takes time. You know what I'm saying? So again, I definitely want to say I appreciate that as well. If I didn't say it before. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with 2025, the event of the year. I'll put some up here. You don't have to go with these right here, but for you, what was your favorite event of 2025?
I would say the card that we just had, with Benavides, Anthony Yard, Devin Haney, Brian Norman, and then Dola Mason, Sand Oaks. That was a good card. Benavides he ends the night, with a stoppage over Anthony Yard. Devin Haney he shut a lot of the critics up by dropping Norman, becoming a champion. Adola Mason also became a champion. So that was a legit card to me. So I will put that up there as one of my top ones.
Only thing is, I just wish the Yard and Benavides fight was just a little bit of a letdown. You know what I mean? Just the way that Yard, the approach that he took. But if I had to go on one, it probably would be that. But my sleeper would be the first Eubank and Ben fight. Like that was a good card. It was so good.
That would probably been my second. First, that was a good one. Yeah, that was on the back of my mind. I would ran with that too, because yeah, both guys they fought their hearts out. They were tired after that first fight. So yeah, they let it all out in that ring on that night, man.
And Eubank, I don't know how he was able to be as successful as he was throughout all of those exchanges that they had in the shape that he was in, because he looked like a dead man walking. It didn't work out for him in that second fight, but I was so surprised. But the reason why I say that that's a slept on one is because you remember right after that, the next week was the fight card in New York with the Rolly Romero, Ryan, and you had Devin, you had Tio. And they had put so much on the line, and I'm talking about the Eubank and Ben, that it even made it more apparent that those fights were duds. Like nobody liked the card because like dudes are running around the ring. Ryan Garcia isn't engaging. Devin is running around the ring. Tiafimo, like people gave Tiafimo more credit, but that wasn't really that exciting. You know what I'm saying? Especially in comparison to the first Eubank and Ben fight. So I want to shout those guys out as well.
And then Turkey tried to do something different with having the card outside, the fighters pulling up in cars. But I know a lot of people liked it and a lot of people didn't. I know that Turkey was trying to do something different, but I remember Gabe Rosado was saying that doesn't, the fighter needs the crowd. He needs the venue. He said that hypes the fighter up, but he said he felt that was a letdown too. But I know, like I said, I know Turkey was trying to do something different. But he had people outside standing. it didn't look like it was too big out there. So I mean, that could have been a good event, but like you said, the card it didn't. The performance by the fighters didn't really do too much. Help the card.
You ever been to Times Square down there?
Yep. I haven't been.
Yeah, because it's so tight. Like it ain't much for them to put a ring right there. It's more so because it's gonna be so congested, and all the time in Times Square, you're gonna have people moving like on both sides. They're just gonna be moving all the time. So that would cause for people to stop and watch the event. They'll try to have some seats around there, but it's only so much that you can put in Times Square because it's just too congested. It's like one of the most congested areas in the world. I just think that in retrospect, if they were going to do something like that again, just have some fighters on there that's going to be exciting. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't. There's no way that the fight is not going to be exciting. You know what I mean? And so I think that if they're going to do something like that moving forward, then that would be my suggestion. As far as upset of the year, have you thought about that? As far as the biggest upset that you recall this past year?
Like I said, Fabian Worley stopping Joseph Parker.
Because
like I said, I just felt that Parker, he was really in a position to get the Usyk, and then he gets stopped, and then he tests positive for cocaine. So that was bad. And I see you got Ryan and Rolly, but that was bad too, man. Nobody thought that Rolly was going to get that win. Ryan just didn't look himself. I don't know what it was, man. Like you said, he was making excuses and stuff, but I did see he mentioned fighting outside and all that. It was just a different atmosphere that he wasn't used to. So, but I don't know. But for me, I'll say Joseph Parker losing to Worley, because I was really looking forward to Parker getting that shot at Undisputed.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't think of anything else to me that quite caught my attention as far as like, oh man, he ended up beating him, and it surprised me to that degree. You got Lavelle. He says, "What up, though, Lavelle? Come through, man. We still got a little bit of time left." He's showing a little bit of love down there. I don't know if he at home or if he in.
What up, though? What up, though?
Yeah, that's what they say out there in Detroit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You have anything in terms of, let's say, like the trainer of the year? Who would your trainer of the year be?
I haven't thought of that one, so I can't. I can't think of right now. Trainer of the year. Yeah, that's one I didn't think of, so I don't got an answer for that one.
Would it be Bosey? Would it be?
I mean, Boots did get a stoppage, but of course, he got a stoppage over another champion and staying on this. But then he fights Lima, which was an unknown guy. So I mean, was Bosey Cool Boy Stuff's trainer?
That was yep.
Yeah, if he I can't say Bosey then, but yeah, I can't say Bosey then if he was his trainer. But no, I haven't thought of that one, man. That's a good one. I have to think on that one, man. I don't got an answer for that one.
It's all good, man. I think let me see. I would have to go with Ryan Garcia. Not me, Ryan Garcia. Robert Garcia.
Yeah, Robert Garcia. Yeah, he did a good job. He had Virgil Ortiz with that nice KO over Lubin. So, yeah, Robert Garcia is a good trainer for sure.
He's a good trainer. I just think that, like, he has a pretty good stable. Like, so they got Virgil.
Mm-hmm.
He got Bam. You know what I'm saying? He's saying enough right there.
Sure.
What about your 2025 comeback fighter of the year?
I would say Devin Haney, but since we talked a lot about Devin Haney, I'm gonna just mix it up a bit. I'll go with Floyd Schofield. And even though he didn't fight Shakur Stevenson. He was supposed to fight him back in February. A lot of fans were saying, a lot of critics were saying he's faked that, his injury. He was in the hospital. They were just saying he didn't want to smoke, with Shakur Stevenson. But when he finally does get into the ring, it's not no soft touch. He fights Tevin Farmer. And what does he do? He drops this guy a few times in the first round. You could see he was really emotional after that fight. He was in tears, I guess because all the critics, all the naysayers saying he was ducking Shakur and he's making excuses. And Farmer is a guy that went 24 rounds with the volume puncher and Zepeda. So maybe he has some wear and tear from all that fight. I don't know. But still, like, Schofield doesn't have that volume that Zepeda has. He's just like, he's a stocky guy like a Sean Porter, but he still got him out there in the first round. So to me, that was very impressive. So I'll just mix it up and I'll go with Schofield.
You killed me with the Sean Porter comparison, though. That's funny. Yeah, I got to go with Debo Dale, man. Like I say, because they had him pretty much a shell of himself, you know what I mean, and to perform the way he performed. And, like I say, the future is real bright for him now. And I think that a couple of things moving forward for him that's even more beneficial is I think that experience that he had with what everybody was saying and what he went through in the Ryan Garcia fight, I think that might even make him a better fighter moving forward. And then the other thing, it seemed like he's more comfortable now at 147 where he's not draining himself. So he may, even if he do catch a punch here or there, he might be able to withstand it better because he's not, draining himself to make a lower weight. So like I said, I think the prospects, the future is looking extremely bright for Devin the Dream Haney, especially in comparison to what it looked like going into 2025. What about your knockout of the year?
That's a good one. I like what Parker did to Bacoli, but Bacoli wasn't in shape for that fight. I can run with. I have to say Brian Norman's KO over Jensen Sasaki out there because he put the man flat on his back in his country, in his town. So that was a big one. That was a big one.
Oh yeah, and they damn near killed Jensen Sasaki.
Yes, sir.
It was to the point where, remember, he couldn't remember stuff for like some months or weeks or something like that.
Right. Yeah, so, that was bad, man.
Yeah. So the last few ones on here, man. What's your fight of the year? Like, what's the best fight that you saw this year?
I like Chris Eubank and Conor Benn #1, but I'll also say Sam Noakes and Abdullah Mason. Like I said, that was a championship fight. Abdullah Mason, like I said, young guy. Both guys, they undefeated records on the line. Both had a lot of power, similar records. And it was a good fight, man. Both guys got cut up. Both guys got touched up. Fan-friendly fight, some back and forth action. So, and that wasn't even the co-main or the main event, but they still, you can argue that could have been the fight of the night on that card. So I can run with that. I like Abdullah Mason and Sam Oaks.
Got your boy coming in, man. You got Lavelle Jackson coming through.
Yo, what up, though? You hear me?
What up, though?
What up, though?
Got the applause for you.
So how y'all doing, fellas, man?
Man, everything's good, man. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm just leaving the gym, man. Picking up some dinner. Riding on Route 1. I was going. I heard some of the stuff y'all was talking about, so I was going to chime in for a little bit.
What you hear that you didn't like, or you agree with, or disagree with? Talk to us.
I definitely agree with. I would say, like, for me, the knockout of the year, that's definitely Ryan Norman Jr. versus Sasaki. I think that was just nasty. That was one of them knockouts that's just like, even if you don't know who Brian Norman Jr. Like if it was just a nobody doing that, that's the type of knockout that would still get people attention.
And
As far
Bill,
as
like before you finish, I was gonna say that remember that kind of got people juices boiling as far as dang, is he gonna fight Boots next? Or and then it's like, are they gonna get it on? And it left so much to be desired. Like once it was, and it sent shockwaves and chills down your spine too. Also, what else do you want to discuss, good brother?
Yeah, so when it comes to comeback of the year, of course, that's Devin Haney to me. I feel like you saw him kind of trying to battle himself back mentally. And it was a weird case because it was something that should not have happened with the Ryan Garcia fight. And you could tell that he was mentally affected by it. But to see him, he kind of was playing it safe against I think it was Ramirez. But when it came to Brian Norman, he pretty much put his stamp on it, showed the class and experience between him and Norman. So he's there right now. He's the top guy in probably the most, to me, welterweight is the glamour division. A lot of people get to heavyweights. That's fine. To me, it's welterweight because that's normally where the greats come from. So we'll see where it goes from here for him.
Yes, sir. Let me ask you a question though. Do you have an upset of the year?
My upset of the year it's twofold. Because at first I looked at Romero versus Garcia, but I think that's a fight that it really wasn't. To me, it wasn't an upset that really won. It's more so how he won. That he outboxed Garcia and basically fought a disciplined fight. Versus if I believe he was going to win, I believe it was just going to be something that he was going to catch Ryan Garcia with something. However, I don't think that's the upset of the year. That's just one of the ones in the running. My upset of the year is actually my man, I think it was Resendez that beat Caleb Plant. Nobody expected, even Caleb Plant on the downside, nobody really expected him to lose. And basically he messed up the bag by losing like that. Like now the fight between him and Charlo is pretty much damaged goods, and people don't want to really see it now. So
yeah,
that was my upset.
Yeah, when you talk about the Resendez fight, I think those, me included, because I didn't know who Resendez was. Resendez isn't a Murtazalia, but he is somebody that if you knew him and knew of him, then you knew that was a very close fight. That was a very challenging fight for Caleb Plant. I just didn't know who he was going into the fight. Then also factored in Caleb Plant, he had lost and been in some really tough fights prior to that, big fights. Where Resendez fight, that's an easy fight for somebody of Caleb Plant's stature to kind of overlook. You know what I mean? But I don't even think Caleb Plant overlooked him. I think what happened is, it's a whole bunch of things with that, but that's beside the point. And I get what you're saying. I think on the outside looking in, for most of us, you make a heck of a point, as far as that being the upset of the year, because they were on a collision course for him to fight against Charlo next, right? Do you have a trainer of the year?
That's probably most likely that's Robert Garcia. I think, and I agree with a tie on that one, because Robert is he's always been that itching trainer. He's always like that, when it's all his trainers together, he's normally number 2 and number 3. He doesn't have those like huge victories, but one thing about him, he's consistent. He'll have his fighters that lose, and it's more so you can't really just totally blame him for that. But when you look at him in totality, I think he's a very underrated trainer and probably one of the best today. He basically have a pound for pound talent on his hands with Bam. So we'll see where that goes. But I think Robert is one of the best trainers today.
Yes, sir. You see how Bill tried to take my credit from it. I was the one who said Robert Garcia, sir. Bill always tried to take credit. But I do want to say,
really, I think I heard Ty say it. I thought I heard Ty say it, but regardless, I agree that Robert Garcia is that guy.
Yeah, it's the thing is that we know that you sneak this, but it's all good, man. I do want to say that microphone sounding real crispy, man. So whatever it is that you're doing, make sure when we do our next episode that you have that microphone on, all right?
But it's this the phone in my car, so maybe it's my phone. I don't know.
All right, so the last two things, man, because I know you got to order your food, is the event of the year. Which event do you think was the best event? Was it the Haney and then you had the only thing Yard and Benavidez wasn't that.
Nah, I mean those were great fights, but they wasn't events for me. You know, I'm not sure if I have an event for the year. You know, those were not y'all know me and y'all know I've been critical of today's cards and nothing really. I was like, wow, like the whole from top to bottom. You know.
Can I tell you something, Novell? If you're talking about event, like the event of the year, and you're not talking about quality, then it's to me in the United States it's going to be Bud and Canelo. That's the event of the year because you got Netflix and all of this, and that's boxing. And you got these two dudes who are going at it, but you know, going for undisputed in the third weight class. He's fighting Canelo. Canelo's the cash cow. So to me, in the United States, that's that one. And then probably
but it wasn't a great card though.
No, that's what I'm saying. When we say event, are you just talking because a lot of people went to that fight? You know what I mean? A lot of people went out to the Las Vegas and that sort of thing. So as far as the event, then I can see that being the number one event. And then also the Eubank against Ben, that was huge too. So as far as the event, you know what I mean? Not that it's something because how do you quantify it? You know what I'm saying? As far as, let's say, for instance, we talk about music. Is it the fact that this guy sold the most CDs, or are you talking about what I like? You know what I'm saying? So that's the dichotomy that you deal with when you having these conversations. But it just depends on how you look at it. For you, what was the event that you liked the most?
To be honest, I like Jake Paul getting knocked out. I didn't like the card really, but I just like that part because I felt like it kind of redeemed. It's sad to say, but it kind of redeemed boxing to the casual fans and showed them like it's a difference. The worst part about it was that he lasted long. It should have been the funniest knockout. We didn't really get that, but it did its job. Canelo and Crawford. I mean, I liked it for what it did for Crawford, but I'm not sure I even liked that fight when it was ever announced. Like I just wasn't. Not saying I wasn't into it. Like I watched it. I thought it was a good fight, but it wasn't something that I was like. To me, it didn't seem like a mega fight to me.
Right. All right. That's Vail, ladies and gentlemen. Vail over here. He's kind of answering questions tonight. How does it feel though to be? Do you prefer like the morning time? Because it took me a while to get kind of like acclimated to being on at night as opposed to in the morning, which I'm more accustomed to. I know you was just on for a segment though.
That was different. It's definitely different. I might have preferred the morning time better, you know.
Yeah, shout out to those people who come on at night. You know what I'm saying? Like by this time, I'm moving and grooving, doing what it is that I do. Bill, the last few things, man, before we go ahead and let you go and get your Papa John's pizza, man.
Now I got a beer belly right now, man. I drank some beer 2 weeks ago. You know, I don't drink a lot of beer when I drink alcohol. It's normally like, you know, straight liquor and stuff like that. But man, I drank a beer like 2 weeks ago, and I got that beer. I'm trying to get rid of this beer belly right now.
Listen, man, I've been eating good. Like this whole break, I've been eating good. I haven't turned down anything, but I'm gonna get back right. Start tomorrow. The only thing is when you work out, do you do any like pre-workout stuff?
I normally do I do 20 minutes on the elliptical, and when cardio days.
No. I'm talking about as far as like pre-workout drinks or anything like that, or something that you use.
Okay, normally it's coffee. If I'm doing some heavy lifting, like, you know, I go with C4, you know, but I don't recommend that, like people doing that every day. Like C4 is not good for you.
Yeah, and see that's the thing that I got kind of caught up in that, and that's what I'm trying to get my body adjusted and recalibrated to just being natural. But it's hard, man. It's like it's a challenge to get that stuff out your system and then allow your body to be more natural. You know what I mean? Because I've been using it for years, but it for me it causes GERD. So I be feeling like I'm about to check out, but it's all that damn caffeine, that's coming back up.
Yeah.
So, but anywho, man, let me ask you a couple questions before we let you go ahead and get that KFC, man. First,
I'm getting some sea boil tonight, so let's get that. But go ahead.
Who's your top 5 guys pound for pound, man? Give us that, man. At least give us that.
Number 1, Bud.
He's retired, man. Come on, man.
He retired but 2 weeks ago. No, Bud, man. 2 weeks. All right. Inoue, Usyk, Bam, and Bivol.
All right, okay. So he's going chalk, folks. Last but not least, this is what me and Ty is going to end on, man. Best of 2025. Can you give us a couple? What's your top 3 hip hop albums that you listen to, or that you like the most? You don't even have to be the best.
That Clips. Man,
it's tough.
It's stuff that Clips. It was a mixtape that I like. Lloyd Banks. What was that? It's Halloween something. It always come out on Halloween.
Yeah, he come out with the Halloween series. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, I like his mixtape.
Mm-hmm.
The third one is hard. I can't really. I'm not sure. But those 2 got my attention.
Okay. Anything else you want to say to the people before we go ahead and let you go ahead and get your food, man?
So next year I'm looking the fights I want to see. I want to see, Benavidez versus Bivol or Bitter Beef. I want to see Boots versus Ortiz. Matter of fact, I want to see a lot of those guys at 154. Mix it up. I want to see him. Boots, Ortiz, or Fundura mix it up with each other, and Murtaza Aliev. I want them to fight Murtaza Aliev. That's you got all these guys at 154, and they need to just go ahead and fight each other. I'm definitely looking forward. Yeah, I'm looking forward to Stevenson and Tio. I think it's going to be somebody's going to have a breakout performance. I think it's going to be Stevenson. But if Tio is going to win that fight, he has to have one of his best performances. So in order for him to win, it got to be the best performance we've seen. But I'm more sure about Stevenson pulling off that type of performance. That's about it. Yeah.
You excited for that my guy about to fight Jermaine Ortiz, the one that you kind of upset with?
Oh, Keyshawn Davis.
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
I'm glad that he got his. I'm glad he's fighting. That he's trying to get back in the game. I think that fight. I heard 147, but I think that's at James Ortiz is at 140.
No, I said 140. He talking about that he want to go because since you got your boy Shakur over there at 140, he may go back down to 135. But he's saying that after this fight that he want to campaign at 147. I think it's because he don't know.
Yeah, maybe I don't know, but I think Keyshawn is definitely the disappointment of the year. I don't like getting on him. I don't feel like I'm trashing the guy. I actually, if y'all listen to this podcast, the listeners, I loved Keyshawn. That's the one guy that I picked to be the next Bud. Like he had everything, like excitement. He knew how to talk. He was saying the right things, wanting to fight the right people, and doing the right things. So what the actions that he did was like almost like a perfect storm for himself. And it's like, and now, and we've been negative on him, so it's time to, in a positive note, I think he has the chance in 2026 to have the comeback of the year, but it's going to be up to him. We'll see a year from now when we're doing this list again, we'll see if he's back being my favorite fighter.
Yeah, we'll see, man. I certainly appreciate that. Is that all you got? Man, certainly appreciate you coming through.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man, that's Lavelle Jackson right there. We're gonna go ahead and let Lavelle get his Taco Bell Grande. Lavelle Jackson, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Lavelle. That's enough of the applause right there. All right, man. Ty, talk to me, man. As far as Keyshawn, before we get to the hip hop and we end this episode, and again, thank you so much, good brother. What do you think that Keyshawn is going to be as effective as a 140-pound fighter as he was at 135?
Yeah, I think so. Like, some of these fighters, man, they just outgrowing the weight. You know what I mean? It's not just Keyshawn that happens to. Some like Devin Haney, his jaws were look sunken in at the face off, I believe, when it's against Cambosis. So like some of these fighters just outgrowing their weight. Like Boots, I've met Boots a few times, and I was like, dang, he's a big dude. Like, how is this guy making 147? So some guys are just, outgrowing their weight. So I think he'll be okay. Like if this is his natural walking around weight and that's just the way he's at now, I think he'll be fine. I don't think he's going to be slower or anything like that. I still think he'll have the same speed, same pop, and all that. So, but we'll see, in the next month.
See, here's the thing though. So when it comes to that, see, Dev is different to me because Dev is somebody, when you see him, that perpetual motion that he has moving in and out, and it's kind of hard to get a beat on him. Keyshawn doesn't fight like that. And when I'm looking at some of his, with the exception of the Lemos fight, I thought Lemos kind of gave in, like being at the fight, that energy in that building could kind of have somebody shook. And I think that kind of contributed to Lemos, even though Keyshawn probably would have wiped the floor with him anyway. But outside that, because Lemos was bigger. But for the most part, when you see Keyshawn fighting against guys, the Baranchek guy, he just looks so much bigger than these dudes. So that's my thing. And that imposing size, that power and things like that at 135, if you fighting somebody who isn't just going to give in automatically to your dimensions, what are you going to do then? Like, that's my biggest concern, because when he's fighting Jermaine Ortiz, who can move and is pretty big for 140, is he going to be able to put a dent in those guys? It's not like you hitting a Baranchuk. And a lot of times Keyshawn stays in there when he's throwing his punches. He kind of admiring what he does. If a bigger guy is tapping on your chin, how are you going to be able to withstand that? So these are all the things I'm thinking about moving forward, as he, makes his way up. Now, if he go to 147, he's going to be like a different guy. Like you don't fight the same going up those 12 pounds as you did when you were at 135. Like you just can't. You know what I mean? You're going to be a little bit more stationary. That's just how it is, like just from a anatomy standpoint. Like you just scientifically you can't, be doing the same thing that you did before. But the thing for him for 147 now is that 147 is probably the weakest that it's ever been since I've been alive. I've never seen 147 this
yeah,
weak.
at 147, man, like that's a weak division now, man. Like, bro, I think Devin Haney can conquer that, man. I think he can conquer it. But yeah, 147 is weak compared to previous years, man. It's wild that it came to that too, but wow.
We don't know. All right, man, we're going to end on our last part of the episode, man, me and Vail, we typically do, like a little bit of hip hop, at the end. And so since we're going to end the year, I got 5 of my top albums that I was listening to this past year that caught my attention, that caught my ear, that stuck to my ribs the most. Do you have any that you've been listening to?
Not really, man. I haven't really been like I said. I just seen like I've heard here and there about Clip's album, but I haven't actually heard the album. But I haven't really listened to anything new. But I still rock with hip hop. But I've been listening to a lot of as of lately. I've been listening to like a lot of Sheek Louch mixtapes, like old Sheek Louch mixtapes.
Yeah, Sheek Louch got one with Green Lantern back in the day. He slept on.
And he slept on. I think like I like a lot of his old stuff, his mixtapes. I think he was like he doesn't get a lot of his props like he should. Like he's always labeled the weakest member of the of the lots. But it's a lot of his mixtapes that he was just going hard on. So I was listening to I was listening to this old. It was just like the best of shit. It was actually like a 2-hour YouTube thing. It was just like song after song with like some of his, his old school stuff. So it was fire though. I liked it.
No, Sheek, one of my guys, man. I like Sheek. As far as bars, now if you want like albums, verses, then you might want to go with style. See, here's the thing with the Lox. Jada is the star of the group.
True.
So it is very talented.
Mm-hmm.
But when you talk about the person who is like the most serious of them and who can touch on different subject matters, that's going to be Styles. Like Styles can go into different bags. If you want just like some mixtapes and like a verse here and there, like you got like a posse cut, then Sheek might be your guy too.
True.
Because he can hit you with the mixtapes. Like he rhyming over some cold beats. Because he got some stuff that he's going to be saying. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
But they're a dynamic duo, and they selfless when it comes to, when the person getting busy. They all are for and happy to see that their brothers be successful. So that's what I like about the Lox. I'm gonna hit you off with a solid Cinco, man. We ain't even talking about Cinco de Mayo. For me this year, the 5 hip hop albums, mixtapes that I listen to the most. First is going to be if you listen and you see this and you haven't heard any of these, this right here is the one that could go either way for people, because Slick Rick came out with a CD for the first time in years called Victory. This, I liked it because this is the first time that I heard somebody who's in an advanced age when it comes to hip hop create a body of work that is age appropriate, but is banging. And he's like, because he's a good storyteller. And so he can tell you stuff that he's doing now at this age, and it still sounds like really good. Like he has a song about being a landlord in New York. Normally people don't just have subject matter like that, but it's still a cold song. But he got a lot of that on this body of work. The only argument that I've heard of people who like this album is the fact that most of the songs are pretty short, like they're about 2 minutes. But I think he's trying to incorporate people's attention span in 2025 as well. And then also this is a part of like a movie. It's a Victory movie, and he has different scenes of the songs that he put together. Number 4 for me is something that I listened to most recently. It's called Double Cup 2. And it's by my boy Slim Thug and Lil Kiki out of H-Time. See, when I was down there in Dallas, H-Time had a huge movement with the Pimp C's, the Bum B's, the Slim Thugs, Michael Watts. You had Chameleon there and all of them. They put together this fine mixtape or album. And if you know anything about that Houston area, this right here is a 2025 classic. Only reason I don't have it higher is because some of the other albums that I have on here, they're more well-rounded. This right here, this is straight for that Houston sound. And both of them dudes, I met Slim Thug and Lil Kiki over there at the Galleria down there in Houston. This is before Beyonce was about to perform that Saturday. And so all of them were down at the Galleria. I was with my girl at the time. We walking through. I chopped it up with Slim Thug. She goes to the concert and she was recording some of the stuff. And Slim, the reason why they were there is because they getting the outfit for the concert. And then that Monday, me and her, we went back to Dallas, and me and her ended up going to the concert, the Beyonce concert, when she came to Dallas. And Bun B had opened that one up. And they were playing like a lot of different songs with the DJ prior to that. Also that night, when I was in Houston, that was the same day that Canelo Alvarez was fighting Amir Khan. Because when I dropped her off at the concert, I ended up going to the sports bar, and that's the same night Amir Khan got knocked out by Canelo. But that right there, number 4 on my list, man. That's a goodie right there. Especially if you want to listen to something in the ride. But they about the gripping wood wheels and all that type of stuff. So you may not know anything about that. Number 3, oh my God, my guy Game, him and DJ Drama came out with a Gangsta Grills. I love hearing DJ Drama scream all over the tracks. Game got different songs. Every movie has a trailer. That's what this is called. And it's leading up to an album that he has coming out. But you would just have to listen to that one. That gives you vintage DJ Drama vibes. You understand what I'm saying?
All right, I gotta check them out. Slim Thug in the game. I didn't check them out. I like Slim Thug, man.
Slim Thug. Alfredo 2 right here. This right here is Freddie Gibbs. This is a sequel to the first Alfredo. But that right there, when I first heard that, that's all I was listening to. When I went to Rio de Janeiro, I was listening to this like when I was at the crib where I was staying at. And then even the chick that I was with, the lady that I was with, she asked, she was like, what did you listen to? What were you listening to when we were down there? I was like, well, yeah, I don't really want to say that's that Alfredo too. You don't know anything about that. But that right there, him and Alchemist. It's a cold, and Freddie Gibbs is underrated. But I had to go with the Clips as number 1. The only reason I would go with Alfredo as far as having more better songs throughout that I listen to, only reason I'm going with the Clips is because lyrically that they just were doing way too much. If you put their stuff on paper or some of the things that the schemes and stuff that they have on there, it's just from a writer standpoint, they were doing way too much more skillfully than most albums that have been put out in recent years. It's kind of like, you remember when Nas came out with the song Rewind, like how he told the story backwards. I'm saying like they doing not stuff like that, but they're being creative in that way. You know what I'm saying? You will listen to, let me give you an example. They got one song on there, and Malice. To me, that's the verse of the year, where he's telling you a tale of when he was in Virginia, like when he was in the game. He's giving you different numbers throughout, like this right here. I gave them this for 2, and then this for 3, and then my jeans was size 28. But he's saying this like lyrically. If you don't know what he's saying and what he's doing, it's still a stellar verse. The last line of that, he said something along the lines, everything that I'm saying is real. It could be on the first 48. If you calculate all the numbers that he had throughout that verse, it equals the number 48. Like I'm saying, they doing stuff like that. So I gotta put that in. It's just, if you don't even know that they're doing that, it's still stellar. You know what I'm saying? So I gotta go with them, man.
Yeah, I was saying these reels with Clips like like maybe 2 months ago or something. I would just listen to these reels. I don't know what do you call it, the music box where the DJ or whoever's playing something in the background, or a couple of people playing the instruments in the background. They just cook. They were cooking, man.
Yeah,
like, it was like a minute reel or something, but they were like, one of them, I don't know which one it was, but one of them was cooking, man. I was like, oh, okay. I don't know if that was from his new album. It could be, or maybe it was something old. I don't know, but he was cooking though.
Yeah, and if I would go to like the my MCs of the year and stuff like that, it would have to be Nas and Malice. Only reason Nas got so many different verses on so many different works, and he put out like some of the old school guys that I'm accustomed to, like the Raekwons, the Ghostface. He put out, helped put out the Mobb Deep album. He helped put out the De La Soul album. And he got verses on all of these dudes' projects, and he got the one with him and DJ Premier. I just haven't had a chance to sit down and listen to it. I was listening to some stuff when I was driving. So when I went to Savannah, I flew into Atlanta. And then I drove to Savannah. I stayed there. Then I was in Charleston. And then when I was in Charleston, I drove back to Atlanta, and I flew out of Atlanta back here, back to here, like the DC area, right? But as I'm on the road, I'm listening to different albums. You know what I'm saying? And some of that stuff that I was listening to is different in the whip. You know what I'm saying? Like when I was listening to that first, I'd be trying to work out or something like that. And it's good there. But then some stuff that I was listening to, I put it up in that car, and I'm like, oh my God. I just hadn't listened to Slim Thug. No, I didn't know about that at the time. Ever since I heard about it, I can't stop listening to it. But nah, you put that up in your whip. You know what I'm saying?
You gotta send them to me. You gotta send them to me so I can check them out.
Yes, sir, man. Let's go ahead and end this one, man. Certainly appreciate you stopping through, you know, as far as the 2025 extravaganza. I had to get back adjusted to being on, you know, around 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock. This is typically not my time to be chopping it up like this, man. I'm doing other stuff. But kind of got into my groove. Shout out to Vail for coming through, you know, for a second.
So,
hopefully Vail, you know, tacos came out all right from Taco Bell. You understand what I'm saying? But we'll see, man. I'll chop it up with him on Sunday, you know, if we decide to do that. But any last words that you got, man, that you want to go ahead and touch base with us on as we move into the new year, bringing in a new cheer?
Yeah, I just want to say, man, thank you for bringing me on. You know, salute to everybody that tuned in. My guy Ryan messaged me saying like he was definitely gonna talk some more, but he said he was at work. So yeah, man, glad that you brought me on. You talked this good boxing. You know, I said I was on yesterday with G5. You know, so 2 back-to-back shows. You know, glad always being on with you guys talking boxing, man. Like I said, this is what we love to do, man. Like 2026. Hope we're gonna have a lot of good fights. You know, happy New Year's to everybody, man. Make sure y'all don't get too tipsy, don't get too wasted, man. Don't be driving too. You know what I mean? So
can't make any promises, man. Only thing I say is, man, be careful out there. If you're gonna go ahead and drink, make sure it's a double cup, man, because you don't want that liquor to pour out that first cup. All right, man. We're gonna go ahead and close it out. Just be safe out there, man.
All right, peace.
All right, peace. Let me make sure I'm where I'm supposed to be. And then we'll do it.